The ever-changing weather around the world. Ever-diverse terrain and roads across the world. With Kumho Tyre that has conquered all. There is no road you cannot go. Go with Kumho. Kumho Tyre.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, and welcome to another round of the Kumho Tyres V8 Veterans. Tonight, coming to you from Japan, one of our nearer neighbours in terms of the world. And, well, this is where I get a little bit excited because it's a track that's IndyCar have actually been to. And if you've followed along with the broadcast thus far, yeah, you know I'm a big fan of those things with wings that aren't F1 cars. So joining me tonight is going to be Dan Yeaman, who will be breaking out from behind the covers and unleashing his vocal talents upon the V8 veterans community. Dan, a trip to Japan, all in store, I think, for us here in the commentary booth.
Yeah, looking forward to this one tonight, Scott. Thank you for the introduction there, and to everyone watching along, welcome to the broadcast. Unfortunately, your regular co-commentator Brady Ball were not available this evening, but I'll do my best to fill in his stead, whilst also providing all your usual speeds and feeds via the cameras. We zoom on here to the circuit. Now, it is called Twin Ring Motegi, and that is its original name, Scott, but in the years since it came onto the iRacing service, it has actually been given a new name due to the fact there is a nearby resort. So the technically the name of the circuit here these days is Mobility Resort Motegi, but nevertheless, as you said, a storied history here at this circuit with IndyCar coming from across the pond, and of course playing host to all other major sporting events, namely the Japanese MotoGP, and then local events such as the Super GT and Super Formula, to name just a couple.
Super Formula, another fantastic series that has wings on the front end of their cars and wings on the rear end of their cars. Phenomenal racing over there in Super Formula as well. That is the layout that we're using here tonight, not the red section. That is normally what you would expect should you be coming to the Twin Ring Motegi. You would start off in that red section, head on the rundown of the top left-hand corner of your screen, and that would be turn number one. No, the Twin Ring East layout is what is in use here this evening. And the drivers are already most of the way through qualifying, and times will be coming across on the board. And unfortunately, Dan, that oval that you can see in the background, one of the most interesting things you can see and do around this course, no longer in service. You know why? An earthquake took it out, unfortunately. So I won't get the ability to go and see oval racing outside of America for a fair while yet, unfortunately, ladies and gents. But in the meantime, what we're going to be bringing to you is a new graphic. And you know how I feel about new things, new shiny bits and pieces. Is it time to talk strategy yet?
Well, how about we'll just go with our usual graphic first, but then don't you worry, I want to bring this one out as well, because I was the one who did the work in terms of building the spreadsheet to make it make the maths fairly straightforward. But For the speeds and feeds here tonight in Motegi, in case you missed it, it's a 250-kilometer race, Scott. 74 laps round this 3.4-kilometer circuit configuration here tonight. So a lot of times round this place that we're going to be checking things out. And the basics here being that drivers fixed setup thanks to Jamie McKnight. 80 litres to start with tonight. They've got slightly more available to refill it to there with 75% of the total tank capacity available. And we're looking at least 2 pit stops to get this race underway. And, well, no better time to bring it up. Welcome to our best attempt to imitate the Hino Hub and Mark Larkham's work for the Supercars commentary knife. This is what we're expecting, well, what we might be expecting, I should say, for the strategy here tonight. The pit window isn't big, Scott, but we do have a couple of ways drivers might try and shake things up here tonight on track.
Yeah. So let's talk about what is portrayed on your screen. So there are 3 potential strategy options. There's obviously quite a few more with those windows open. The first pit stop window to get yourself home, to come in early, get that pace advantage and get in, get out. That is going to open on lap number 18. They will then fill up and have to run to lap 46 before they'll fill up again, and that will get them home to lap 74. But there's 2 other strategies outlaid there, Dan.
Yeah, there is, yeah, of course, as you said, about a 10-lap window here tonight, thanks to that the fuel tank restriction, which we've got that dashed line across the top indicating where the cars will be capped out, because of course 111-litre fuel tank if they had 100% capacity here this evening. But nope, 75% brings that down to 83.3. So 2 other strategies we've sort of highlighted for this evening. One, if you're looking to maybe keep it easier on the tyres, spread the load equally, and as it turns out, keep the fuel load pretty similar as well. Come in lap 25, fill it up, go again to lap 50, fill it up, bring it home. Or perhaps you want to try and save the tyres for the end of the race. Stretch the starting fuel, which is 80 litres, as marked there on the graph, with that cyan blue dot. Run the fuel all the way down to about lap 28, maybe lap 29 if you can save. Then fill it all the way up, and you might get yourself out to at least lap 55 before you short fill and bring it home to finish. The other thing, Scott, is having been sharing some of these graphs, the work-in-progress versions, as well as this one here on screen tonight, to the drivers in the V8 Vets Discord. A couple of them confident they can stretch out more laps than we've estimated. We've gone for a fuel burn of 2.9 litres per lap based on some virtual racing school data since the Supercars official series is here this week. But drivers confident they might stretch that extra lap, which will push that critical lap markers back to maybe as early as lap 16 tonight. But that might be a gamble, depending on how lead-foot the drivers are around this circuit.
Well, I mean, one of the critical things when you come to Motegi is track position. Very tough to overtake around here, particularly on this layout. It's just not easy to get the job done around here. So I think that's probably what's playing into a few different people's minds, having them think a few different ways. You know, they're really not 100% sure. That's when they'll look to come in early. The problem for me, though, Dan, is if you're saying, hey, we have to save fuel and pit early, those 2 things don't work together. If I want to pit early, I want to go hard. That says to me, I think I'm faster than the drivers around me. I don't think I'm as good on tyres, so I need to go very, very hard. So fuel saving, honestly, I would go with that lap 46 marker. I think that is our first opening window. So it's going to be tricky tonight, tricky to calculate. Where do you put your numbers? Who do you invest your time and effort into? And where do you see yourself popping out the other side? Those are the critical factors of the race.
They are indeed. And I think thinking about it, I reckon we might see drivers come in as early as lap 16 if they're on that undercut critical lap strategy. That brings their second critical lap back to 45 instead of 46. But that's because that's all we're talking. We're only talking 1 lap towards the end of the race, which then becomes 2 at the start of the race, mind you. So we are being a bit conservative with our fuel numbers here tonight for this graph. It's the first time we've rolled it out. We didn't want to push the limit so far. And the other thing is safety cars. They might play a thing, but I would argue you're only going to get maybe an extra lap, 2 laps tops if we get a safety car as well. So we tried to run a couple of variables, but in saying that, keeping this graph somewhat easy to read was probably one of the key things. So call it a 10-lap window. That's what we're working with here tonight. For the most part, Scott, it is going to be a curious game, though, to see who comes in early to try and push at the start of the race, who looks safe for that push for the end of things this evening. Not long till we take the grid, Scott. Let's have a quick look here at the championship standings after last week's race with the Long Beach 150. And thanks to another strong run on the streets there in California, Scott Gamble jumps himself up to the top of the championship, but it's only by, 14 points from Jason Spriggs, who was leading going into Long Beach last week.
Yeah, that's quite critical as well. You know, Spriggs had a reasonable outing, but it's just been the man that's probably... He's had one mistake in this season. That one mistake was crossing the white line on pit lane entry at Zandvoort Park. But Jeff Thomas, he's right there and in the hunt. The guy that I'm really wanting to see another strong finish from tonight is Matt van der Kraan. Now, we have been putting the mockers on him the last couple of weeks, so let's try and not do that here tonight, Tan. But, yeah, look, it's going to be a difficult one here tonight. I think dirty air is actually going to be a really, really big factor. The width of the track is not as wide as we see at a lot of other circuits. This circuit is very, very good for MotoGP racing and Formula racing, whereby you have a push-to-pass style button. What it is not good at is single class, effectively. A single car class or spec series racing. It's very difficult to set up a pass in spec series racing around here, and well, they're gonna have to deal with that tonight. That is the question. Qualifying though has been run and done. Who has come out on top of the ladder? It's, well, your championship leader Scott Gamble off the front row. Alongside of him, Stewie Hall in that 49 machine. What a phenomenal qualifying effort for the Nova Sim Sports driver. We'll move run row further back and start to dig into the field. And once again, Matt van der Kraan, again, consistent in qualifying on that second row. John Latham, his worst qualifying effort so far of the season, had faulty pedals last week. The pedals were fading away on him. Tonight might be a little bit of a better night here for him. Moving back to row number 3, we're looking for Craig Friend and David Kirby. That looks to be David Kirby's best qualifying performance of the season. Can he convert that one into his signature consistent finish? Jeff Thomas and Dan Hall off along behind them. Before we'll round out our top 10 by looking at Christian Smart and Michael Quain. Will Quain throw the dummy in terms of strategy here this evening? What is going to be the strategy? Well, we'll have to ask on the other side of this one. Dan?
We sure will. Let's work you through the next 10 cars. Just starting outside the 10, your Season 14 champ, Mike Telliantis, is going to share that 6th row with the 747 of Greg Sharp. P13 in the hands of Michael Stewart there for Hypersonic Racing. He's sharing the 7th row with Chad Vigor, the next of our Angry Birds racing cars there. The 016, Travis Hunt, the number 32, also white brewed coffee JWM Motorsport car. Once again, out in force, switching up the colour schemes. Scott, he's sharing that row with the Type N Esports 88 of Damien Cairns there for 15th and 16th. Teammate to Damien, Jason Spriggs, and P2 in the championship. Not a good starting spot for him here to be back in 17th. He's going to have to work for it here tonight. Sharing the row with Chris Miller with your top 20, rounded out by Chad Lewis and Stephen Banks here, Scott.
Yeah, we'll throw it back to Brian Minogue and Michael Dumbrell, 21st and 22nd, before we'll dig one row deeper and go on to things with 23rd and 24th, which will be Matty Parker and Tim Nicol. Not a great qualifying effort there from the driver of the 199. Scott McCune, one of his better performances of the season, off alongside of Stephen Gretsch, and then we'll move another row further back as well, and pick up Ken Latter and Peter van der Kraan as well. Van der Kraan had a phenomenal drive late on in the piece on Aileen Tyres. Jamie McKnight, Darren Crosby in behind them. New livery for Jamie McKnight. We'll see how well that one goes for him this evening. Before we finally round out our top 30 with Dean Flavell and Matty Sculls, and I hope my teammate can do a lot better than 30th as he qualifies here tonight.
Yeah, we go. Let's run you through the final couple of cars as we're getting ready to take the grid. Michael Schroeder, Rod Hollis, going to share rows back here. Apologies there. It was 33rd, 34th. Scotty Van Lood, Robert Christou off of row number 18 there. The revs rise. 37, 38, Vigor, Cesar. O'Brien, Burns going to round out your field as we get ready to go rolling, and we're underway here at Motegi. The 250k race, they head on down the hill to this East configuration, turn number 1, and they are 3-4 wide behind Gamble all the way down the field.
Yeah, the 49 got a terrible launch. Here comes Latham to the inside. Van der Kraan's on the outside. Latham's going to get out of it, but it's going to be Stewie Hall that makes contact with Matt van der Kraan. Now he's facing in the wrong direction. Watch them all. They're 6-7 wide in the middle of the pack. Cars taking to the outside, and lap number 1. Matt van der Kraan continues that ability to put the car there in qualifying. Races continue to be his biggest issues.
Oh, more dramas. One of the Type N Esports cars went around. Unfortunately, I've lost track of who that might have been here as we're focusing on Jason Spriggs, who's got Ken Ladders, who was inside here as they work their way down into turn number 6 on this EC configuration. There is all kinds of cars all over the place. Big loose. Oh, Michael Stewart, the hypersonic machine. Blown motor already on lap number 1, and he's having to limp that thing back to the lane here, Scott, as they work their way around the corner. As that should be laps, not time, as he'll now have to ease that car back. But at the front of the field, Scott Gamble started on the pole, has been able to absolutely check out here on this opening lap of the race.
Yeah, and he's going to come around and pick up the end of that first lap of the race by a country mile. His next job is going to be to settle himself in, look after those tyres, and Latham has managed to get through. Then it's Kirby, because Hall's managed to drop off the pace completely and utterly. So it'll be Scott Gamble from John Latham. We've seen these guys go toe-to-toe quite a number of times so far this season. David Kirby up into P3, and if he can turn race pace like we've been seeing from him, that is going to be a very difficult car to beat. Dan Hall, Christian Smart, Michael Quain, those guys are going to round out your top 6. Moving on to 6, Stuart Hall's dropped all the way back from a second place start into 7th, and that lap 1, turn 1 is under investigation from race control. It's already been turned in, and we have another car around at turn 1 yet again on lap number 2. Right at the tail end of the field, and there's another car as well off in turn 3, between turn 3 and turn 4, and it's Stephen Gretchen, the next car on the scene, as the car looks around at turn number 1.
Oh my word, trying to keep Ken Ladders dropped back here in the middle of the circuit, very slow.
Something's wrong.
So is he just getting a slow down penalty there? Let's see. No, it's lag by the time I go and
Did
check
you need a
it.
redress?
Possibly
Surely.
a redress order there, yeah. Alright, apparently some kind of incident for him, so man, do you want to keep track of who's having a good start, who's having a bad start? Definitely not an easy one here for us this evening, but I can tell you, here's our best starters in this race, and have a look at that there for the 808. Robert Crystal right in front of Ladder right now, up 11 spots through the melee on lap 1, and for once in his season, touch wood, because it is definitely...
No, don't say it. Don't say it. Don't say it. Ladies and gentlemen at home, you can see who's second on that graphic at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. We are not going to mention that driver's name for his own safety. You knew exactly where I was going with that one. I needed to save Scott McHugh's night early on. And fingers crossed I haven't just binned him on the way through. Troy Sipple's off, as he actually has already gone a lap down as well. Dropped in behind our leaders. But have a look at the number of cars here, Dan. Have a look at the damaged cars. Everyone, just about bar our race leader, has got some sort of panel damage on lap number 1. Somebody sent it down in the background of that shot and got a move done and turned it. There's a Peggy's car off on the right-hand side. That was Sipple, indeed.
Now, is he going to get this car back to the pit lane or not? That's the big question. Now, he looks like he's going to make the effort at least, so good on him. And the car looks to be okay, so just had a moment, I think. Dan Hall's had a moment whilst we've been looking elsewhere. The 462 is still running, though, in P7. So, not an absolute disaster for Dan, despite what it was. Maybe he's got constructed up with... Let's see here. He's had some kind of moment. He's lost to P4 on back. So, yeah, we've got a lot to try and break down here. Let's see if we can.
Oh, hang on. Race control just came in. Lap 1, turn 1 incident, car 49, no further action. So if that's Latham, if that's who's the other driver? Yeah, Matt Vanderkram was the other one who fell deep through the field. So it was Hall. I definitely felt like Hall was definitely the big issue perhaps there. He ran somebody very, very wide at turn 1. I think he might have thought that he got a touch on it. Probably what triggered that. Or just a, hey look, it's there, have a look at it, you know, we'll see what happens. What? Craig Friend, first of the penalties to come through tonight.
Yeah, there
it's
we
on
go.
lap 1. That was the incident on lap 1 from Craig Friend, so that might have been the second melee that all kicked off.
Yeah.
Short lap here too tonight, Dan, as well. Only 1 minute and 19 seconds is the fastest lap for John Latham. And to put this in perspective, ladies and gentlemen, the track length is only a fraction longer than Sandown. That'll sort of give you a little bit of an information, a little bit of a feel for what the lap pace is going to be like tonight and how they run.
Yeah, I'm going to say almost actually configuration and lengthwise here at Motegi. It's a permanent circuit here, of course, but it's more in line with, I'd say, the Adelaide Street Circuit when it comes to what we're expecting of the drivers here tonight in terms of the race length, circuit length, lap times. Actually, I think all in all, lines up fairly evenly here. Track is slightly shorter and has obviously a higher average speed than the Parkland Street Circuit does, but nevertheless, going to be busy around here. Right, so I am going to take a moment here because you have this couple of incidents from last night. I'm going to see if we can process them all out. It looks like the first one, the first one on my list is starting with Damien Cairns. Now, I think he might have been the one that went around, unfortunately, at the start. So I'm going to go to him first up to see what we can get off the start of this one.
It'll be interesting as well to see what happened with Matt Vanderkamp, whether he got touched up in turn 1. Look at the cars jumping down the line on the run down there. And remember what we said early on, there was rubbing on the way down to turn 1. Somebody was going to get forced off into the grass on the right-hand side of the run down to turn 1 here. A few on board from Damien Cairns.
Yeah.
That will be Greg Sharp up ahead.
So,
cars around left, right, and centre. That's Talianchis just to his left. Manages to get through there. So that's not the issue. It was further on here, I think.
Yeah, it must have been. So that was the first alert flag. That must be just because he was slow off and just to get out of the way. So yeah, let's roll back to Vanderkamp specifically here. Unfortunately, see this. That's his live position at the bottom of the screen. So unfortunately, dropped from a front of the field start back to P33. So yeah, a little bit wide from Stewie Hall, but it's Craig Friend who gets into him. That's why Friend's picked up the driver penalty. And then this was real cheese. These guys pull up the dog chip, and then it's tight end. Cars gets a bit of a whack around the corner. Looks like Jason Spriggs possible, and we'll take us back to turn 1 here.
Was it just me, Dan? Were the cars 2 or 3? I think it was even 24. And that's a 2-1 circuit. In fact, it's a wide track through there. But yeah, watch this. Watch this thing feed in here. That's definitely 3 by done on its own. That's a downshift for sure.
Yeah, just a pinch of the brakes, all right. And yeah, so I can see why Stuart Hall's gotten no further action. He ran in a bit deep to turn 1, but didn't turn around. Poor old Matt Vanderkamp. That was his drive. Oh, Darren Crosby in the back. Oh, righto. Okay, we're going to go back a second there and try and pick up the 66 because that has gone horribly wrong. And so he's getting around people here to try and get this. So let's see here. This takes Jeff. So he clips the 016, and then that's what took Stewart out. It's also taking Jeff Thomas with him. Chad Lewis as well looks to be pretty heavily affected, and yeah, this is where the smoking gun that was the engine of the 919 unfortunately came from. You can see here, I don't think he's made it out on track, but he has. He's a long way behind everyone else here. With that said and done, I think we can go back to the live pictures.
Look, Jeff Thomas at the moment sitting 41st and last, still running. At this point in time, still on the lead lap as well. Travis Joyce one lap now. Whoa, there we go. P2 on the championship in the fence. Jason Spriggs, and was that contact?
He's immediately called something in here, so well, we were just gonna go. All right. Well, with
I
that,
thought the street circuit was last week.
we're gonna look at this one here on the replay we'll pick. So because literally right as we go. Come back to us. So he's got the 016 of Rick Vigor in behind, and oh no! Contact on the run down and turn 6. And that ankle not great. Let's see if we can get an onboard before it happens.
So the confusing thing for ladies and gents sitting at home is that Jason Spriggs was continuing the track to that lane there. But that's a natural movement. You would expect that from most cars. Chad's going to poke his nose out here and then straightens. But Spriggs is continuing to come across the whole time. That'll be confusing. Look, there's cases for both of them to be at fault there, Dan. And I'm interested to see which way that one goes. That'll probably be the one that they use is the one where you refer back to a decision that was made earlier. Words for me.
It'll be strong precedent. Yeah, that's what.
That one precedent.
Yeah, there's the one you're looking for, and yeah, you're not wrong. And that will be one to watch. Used, as I said, market there. Now Jason Spriggs comes back out of the pit lane just then. Chad Lewis jumping on the radio as well. Yeah.
I thought that was a request to tow. No, I was getting excited because I thought that might be our first safety car of the night, but no, it was just a request for a review of something from turn 3. So
Stu Hall for the moment.
qualifying was the best, unfortunately, for Stuart Hall tonight. So he's definitely not the 1 lap pace. He will feed back in front of Tally Andrews, so he will stay inside the top 10. But dramas twice early on for Hall in this race. It was a top qualifying effort from him. Did not, that one, I think that one caught us both off guard. Basically, he managed to pop out with at the start of tonight's race, but fallen a little bit by the wayside as things settled in. Now, fastest lap, ladies and gentlemen, will still belong to John Latham from that lap 2 effort where he had a lot of clear air. No longer the case in terms of that medium length pace. He could be fuel saving a little bit, but Gamble checked out the tune of 2 seconds, and Kirby has dropped out of 3rd place and into 4th place. Christian Smart has managed to make his way up into 3rd place. That's some major developments early on in this race. Is that Greg Sharp sneaking deep inside the top 10?
Indeed. Currently sitting in P7 is the 747 now. He's actually up 5 spots as well here tonight, so making some good moves forward after the minor chaos that was lap 1 race for the cars here at the front of the order. So you see here.
Somebody just dived in the lane. It was Talantich.
All right. This is a little bit earlier than I was thinking, but do you know who was the person reckoning that they could work something a little bit different to the estimated strategy here? Who else that Mike Talantich is going to bring in? Lap 10. If he can save 6 laps of fuel, which is what I reckon is probably at most what you'd want to try and save without making too much of an effort.
I think he just recognised that he was caught up.
Oh no!
Yeah, I see it too. He's touched the pit lane entry line, hasn't he?
I'll have to go and look. I wish I could have a look at it, but watch that pit timer extend, folks, because the number 21 just picked himself up an iRacing black flag, which has come on pit entry as we absolutely scupper any chances at a strong result.
Yep.
The safety car now, because down the order he tumbles.
Do you know which line he touched? It's the one on the inside of the pit lane entry. There's a yellow line on the inside of the pit lane entry. We cannot touch that line. So I think that's going to give us obviously an early moment for a contender in terms of raw lap speed and what may be a marker for the field. But I think that's also going to have to be something we keep an eye on right throughout the night as well. Good news for Tally. He has re-emerged. My biggest concern for this strategy was he's pitted out of what, 9th, 10th?
He was into the 10, 10th.
Yeah, and he's come out 4 seconds out of the race leader. If you're going to pull this undercut strategy, the biggest concern you always have, and it's something that any over racer will know, is if you want to undercut, you're going to go laps down. A caution flies, you're in trouble. But Tally's managed to get that one out of the way just.
Let's see if we can pick this up on the pit entries we're talking about there, because there's no point us talking. So you'll see here, dive on it. It's actually an update to this circuit here as well as, oh, he's got it all pinched. And yeah, so for those who have raced at Twin and Motegi, you might know that you actually used to be able to get away with cutting this pit entry in seasons on past, but that has no longer, well, that's no longer allowed. And you can see that little brake lock and getting, as you said, Scott, that right front tyre over the yellow line on the inside of the pit lane has cost him dearly. And, well, it's definitely a bit of a disaster. But, yeah, fresh tyres, full tank of fuel. He will certainly press on from here. But
he's already pulled out half a second since coming out the pits. I think he was about 4 and a bit seconds in front of the race leader Gamble. He's now nearly 5. So, yeah, he's cracking on with it. So there won't be a huge deal of saving. Just balancing that throttle. It's quite interesting, the ride and the way that they drive through all those corners, because that's not the normal layout to it. I think it is actually worthwhile probably grabbing somebody on board that's in a battle. I'm looking probably around 20th. Robert Crisdale? Yeah, let's grab an on board with Robert Crisdale as he goes through that first second battle. Because that one's a tricky one. Watch this curving, because he's also in a pack here and searching for fresh air to the nose of that car. Listen to the throttle control. Listen to what he's doing with that throttle, trying to get the car to settle. Could be a little bit of fuel saving, backing that car up a little bit from the guys in front. That'll be one way that you can save a little bit of fuel. It'll be also a good way you can save some tyre as well, Dan, because taking corners at lower speeds, there's less heat through that tyre, takes less away from that tyre surface.
It does, yes. So you can see here, looking at drives out on the track, and it's actually starting here. So Jay McKnight looking at P18 and in this car. So she in behind Crusoe. Certainly a good bunch of cars. They are a little spread, but all within a second at the moment. So count this one as a battle pack for now. And curious for me is that we've got drivers like Ken Ladder, who are having a really rough start to tonight here, because Ken has actually made spots this evening so far, Scott, but he's in 23rd place, which after what we saw last week, really hassling Gamble for the win at Long Beach, it was quite the turnaround in not the best of fortunes for the driver behind the 269.
Well, I was going to sit down and say, look, what would you compare this track to? You said Adelaide. For me, there's not enough bumps. Adelaide's got a little bit of that rise, a little bit of the rise and fall to it, not anywhere near as much. I'd actually go Phillip Island. It's quite close to a Phillip Island, because a lot of the corners are all really flat, long, flowing corners, really sort of open corners. And who did quite well at Phillip Island? Luke Ken Ladder was right up there and in the piece as well. So even though you say last week he was there and he was harassing, that was over bumps, quite good throttle management. I think it's going to come down to tyre management and who can look after those guys. And if we're talking Phillip Island as well, don't forget who won the last 2 races at Phillip Island. That is always important to note. Talyancic, driver that's gone for the interesting strategy.
Yeah, now, I think I maybe should clarify in that case. The circuit, without a doubt, is not an Adelaide in terms of
I'm really curious about what you meant by Adelaide. You threw me for you threw me.
Let me try and rephrase and clarify that, because what I was getting at is more just quite simply the circuit length and the lap time are the 2 variables. Because consider this, we're talking 19s, 20s currently from the drivers at the front of the field. That's not far off, if not only slightly ahead of the lap time around the Adelaide Parkland circuit. Also, the 250k race, we've ended up, thanks to the circuit being 3.4k's long here, 74 laps. This is not a number that, for those who watch the racing in Adelaide, would be unfamiliar with in terms of defining a race distance in the lap length was what I was trying to get at there. Unfortunately, a little lost in translation, it seems, but them's the breaks sometimes. And
I think you've just picked up a new moniker there, Dan. I'm going to be calling you Dan Statsman Yeaman from now on.
Well, I can work with that, I think.
I mean, it's not a horrible name, though. That's worth names to be called. Oh, mate, that was awesome. I enjoyed the numbers. I'm going to be coming to you for more numbers tips going forwards. Right now, the number 1, Scott Gamble, in race has managed to stretch that margin out. That margin before was in the 2 seconds. He's now put another 2 seconds on that one. So Latham continues that raw pace metric, and Gamble continues to be the driver better on tyres, although he has had the assistance of a little bit of free air. They're closing in on lap traffic at the moment. I think Talyancic, just up the road from them, has actually just made a spot this lap and gets past. Oh, here we go. More activity in pit lane, lap 14. So we're starting to edge towards that Hino Hub number.
Here's another driver who is, I think, clearly thinking that their fuel numbers not quite as aggressive as ours. Peter van der Kraan going to be the first driver to, I think, make a stop more in line with what I would argue to be the pit window if you're looking to undercut and get your stops done early tonight. 14 laps on the board, I think, is still a little early. He's going to probably need the help of a safety car in the middle phase of this race, I think. But let's not count out the man behind the wheel, the number 31 here just yet, for a solid result. All things considered, as we should probably
enjoyed that drive last week for Peter. That was an awesome drive last week. Thoroughly enjoyed watching him work. It was really good to see, actually. He's had a rough season. He's had a rough couple of seasons, actually, for Peter van der Kraan's side. So that drive was awesome. Whoa, hang on! Contact on lap 8, Matt van der Kraan, moving his way back through the field, has earned him a pit lane penalty.
Yeah, I'm just going to throw that on screen there, and Well,
On lap 8.
yeah, lap 8. Let's go see if we can dig this one up. I can see Chad losing at the moment, and Vanderkram was driving slow at the same time. Yep, I think I found the one we're going to want to have a look at here. So,
Is this going to spell double trouble here for Vanderkram? You got a feel for the guy. He's had pace. He's had consistency. He's just...
already gone around there. Let's grab an outboard shot here. Actually, this is interesting. So, Chad Lewis. This is the start of lap 8. Turn 1. He's contact with Craig Friend. There's Vanderkram coming. So this is going to happen here at turn 2. Up the inside. Oh, he forces the issue at turn 2 there, and puts the 727 further into the fence there, unfortunately, for the ERT driver. And I might also add, Scott actually moved his way up into the top 10 on the championship points coming into tonight. Unfortunately, not a good night for him. And so yeah, that's what caused the drive-through penalty though. From that angle,
It was also updated. Update coming from race control just then as well. Craig Friends actually picked himself up a points penalty on top of the drive-through penalty he's already served. So there's another incident from Craig Friend. And that was a car that was qualified inside the top 10. So just because you stick it inside the top 10, I don't know what it is from V8 Veterans, but qualifying inside the top 10, unless your name is Scott Gamble, seems to mean very little.
See a case of what's close indeed there is Chad is strong on the brakes compared to Rick Vigor, the 014. If I bring this up here, I'll probably get confirmation of that one there. It is Rick Vigor, yep. Rick behind the wheel of the 014, his brother Chad behind the wheel of the 016. Sometimes it can be a bit of a game as to remembering who's who and behind the wheel and such. Chad trying to have it here to make a pit stop. Soon enough, and he is looking racy here.
We are in London, yeah.
I would say, yeah, now, Gamble has gone across the line. I'm going to suggest that...
There's a couple drivers right around where Gamble is as well, and I can tell you at this point in time, Michael Stewart is in behind Peter van der Kraan, so... got a few different guys sliding around. So the two drivers that have made their pit stops so far are Peter van der Kraan and Michael Talyancic. Now they're lurking about. Talyancic, remember, serving a 40-second stop and hold. He will have quite a reasonable fuel dump to make later on in the race, so he's going to make a lot of time here. Is Van Loon's actually, Scotty Van Loon's just actually into pit lane as well. So another driver coming to the attention of his crew. And on his own. So Talyancic is now into, I think it's going to be 38th by the time that he passes Van Loon on pit straight. Oh, he lit those rears up. He's got himself some clean track in front of him now, but going to be struggling from Tally's side. That 40-second penalty is not going to help. But 15 seconds up the road is Peter van der Kraan, and he's the first driver that made his pit stop. He was, what, mid-20s or mid-teens? Somewhere around there.
Yeah, I'll tell you this here. So, about the next car for Talyancic, only 6 seconds up the road. It's Jeff Thomas, who unfortunately out of sequence thanks to having to pit for repairs on lap number 1. Did you see here that on the last lap in particular, Jeff able to eke out a little bit of margin over Mike?
I think Mike actually did an overtake on that lap.
That would explain it, yeah. And Michael Schroeder, who we did have on the Zoom feed tonight, so we'll just bring up. But he's also bit of a moment there just as we switched to apparently that was not a good time to be bringing up to Michael Schroeder. I might have something on me, not in a good way.
Look, he's got the head down. He's got the eyes forward. Yeah, I think he's looking in the rearview mirror. Yep, that is the race leader coming on through, Scott Gamble. Unfortunately, though, that'll allow Jason Spriggs to come on through as well. So, multiple drivers making pit stops at the end of lap number 1. Those drivers involved Darren Crosby, Michael Stewart, who saw engine on cannoning effectively, Jeff Thomas, Jason Spriggs was on lap 8. Michael, I believe that's Michael Spriggs. Sorry, Michael Schroeder was going on the screen. My apologies. Michael Schroeder on lap 7, and Troy Sipple was also on lap 2, but Sipple's now quite a way off of the rear of the pack.
Let's bring it up here on the timing tower, Scott, and see drivers when they last pitted this weekend. You see here as it cycles back through to the front of the order, starting with the top 20. They are all yet to pit. We have to get back all the way to 34th position. So cycle through the so apologies for the whilst it does. A lot of drivers aren't taking this early gear, but no one opting to go for fresh tyres early, it seems, just yet. As then we see a couple of drivers, unfortunately, haven't tried through penalties. I can tell you, confirming Darren Crosby there in the 66, the first driver to pit, but again, off sequence due to damage. So realistically, as you said, Peter van der Crane, first car to stop and to make that fish pit stop. I still reckon, yeah, a bit early. Going to be asking for some fuel save, as Rick Vickers had a moment turn 1, possibly, we'll see. Got him back going, but he's now down in 33rd place, whereas
I'm having a look as well.
In 31st.
Peter van der Crane as well. Peter van der Crane is in 32nd at the moment, and he's actually following along right in behind, I believe, Chad Lewis. So he is getting held up a little bit. I think what people are after is that clear track. If they, with a minute and 20-second lap, it is very, very difficult to guarantee yourself. And if anyone watching along at home wants to know how full the track map is, it's full. Yeah. That's simple. That's it. Just letting lap cars going. Yeah. So he's staying right out of the way.
Parked up on the inside there. I'm immediately thinking that's surely a bad thing. Unfortunately, for Troy Sipple, he's had a very rough night, and now just a maximum minimising any kind of issues for him there. So credit to Troy for being heads up and letting that group of cars go. It's definitely
he's not dead. He's just here. He's just here for finishing points. I think tonight he's just going to grab what he can. He recognises that there's probably going to be a little bit more aggressive driving at some point throughout the race. Critically at this point in time as well, Gamble's starting to close in on Talyancic. So that is going to be critical. Gamble will be quite low on that fuel pot too now, so got rolled tyres. So that'll be a little bit of an issue. Already, I think he's just saying thank you to the lap cars who are letting him on through, and he's got Christian Smart. Actually, Smart's got really attached here to the back end of John Latham, and the battle that you're seeing on board as well. Michael Plain, Greg Sharp, Damien Cairns, and Stuart Hall. So Hall's managed to stay inside the top 10 just. So he's got to work hard to hang on to that one. Chris Miller is the guy that's going to hunt him down and take away that nice single digit next to his name.
We'll see how this battle pack works out. And yeah, we'll jump to the show. I just wanted to bring up on the screen, Miles, because you're mentioning it there as well. There's the gap in the lap times last time around for your leader and Talyancic, and you can see here the gap is no more than 4 seconds above a lap between them. Come back to this battle for 6th later on. I think these guys are sizing things up nicely, but as you said, yeah, I did get a chance to have a look at it momentarily earlier in the race, but these two here, with Christian Smart and John Latham, are currently locked together on the road indeed, Scott. And yeah, Christian biding his time for now as he works a little bit tighter through the final corner here.
I'd have a crack at the undercut. I reckon he's going to pop. Oh, it's really difficult now. Have you got a track map available for us at all, Tim?
Unfortunately, no. My track map on this for Motegi's East configuration is circular, so it doesn't quite show off the features of the circuit. As we see Michael Quain, first driver from inside the top 10, I believe, tonight to make his way.
Say, that's smart. I just think you've got to have a crack. I think you're going to try and buy a ticket. Buy some track position tickets right about now. Somebody's going to have a crack, and Quain and Cairns is generally the two. We'll have a dive. If I'm also Christian Smart, I'm having a crack. You're not going to get this move done on track now that things have settled down a little bit, particularly on the older rubber. You've got to get it done in the pit lane, but it is, do you do it by creeping up to the guy in the second stint after pitting 1-2 laps later than him, and having that shorter fill at the end of the race? Because I think that's crucial as well. Just that shorter fill time so critical. Robert Crisdale's in the lane at the moment as well. I think that's the only driver. And we've got two in the lane, so Craig Friend's come in after already being through the lane once to serve a penalty. Crisdale will come back out in front of Taliancic with full tank and fresh rubber. And just in front of race leader as well. So he's managed to hang on to that track position. I think Craig Friend has actually come out behind the race leader. So he will move to one lap down at this point in time, albeit only a couple laps away. What was that maximum run on that first stint, Dan?
You're saying 28 is a conservative value. Might see 29 from drivers here if they've been thinking about the save. 29 shouldn't be too hard for these guys to achieve. It's whether someone gambles and trying to make it 30 laps with a bit more of an aggressive save over the course of this opening stint. That will be one I think that is to watch here as Crisdale get his eye back in and back up to speed. More drivers down onto the lane. They're starting to come in greater numbers here with the 016 of Chad Vigor. Is joined in the lane by Travis Hunt, who's down and away there off the jacks for Hunt. 29.5 seconds, so topping the tank right up. And big wiggle there as he gets off a little bit of short ratios here tonight in Motegi, given that this front straightaway I should say, which is of course not the main straightaway, but what we are using here tonight, don't get up to all that much of a high speed here, given it's only probably about 600-700 meters, I'd say. I can't tell you for certain, unfortunately, but I'm going to give you an idea.
I know it's also the MotoGP 1 and 2 as well, because they come down that hill and into one there and underneath that bridge. That is a moment to witness when watching MotoGP as well. Phenomenal racing circuit. If you haven't seen any international racing activity coming to you from the circuit. Older style pits as well back up there. Very little going on. That gets fleshed out a fair bit when international racing comes on by. I do believe they actually run the Japanese GT3 racing out of here as well.
Super GT, yeah.
Yeah. Phenomenal circuit. It's fast flowing. It's got it all. Very difficult to follow in. So I know the Super GT does struggle a little bit with racing. I think that's what you're seeing here tonight. The V8 touring cars is a little bit of that splitter not receiving enough downforce effect. Just starting to watch Taliancic as well. He's starting to struggle with front tyres and rear tyres. Wouldn't surprise me to see Gamble peel off into the pit lane just to avoid from having to lap him. I think that's going to be relevant. There's battles as well, ladies and gentlemen, right up and down the field as this starts to open up. I can tell you 21st through to about 24th is all over each other like a bad smell at this point in time. Went side by side through turn 1 and turn 2. So an overtake was made, I believe.
Yeah, it's back here. It's more of the action, I think. We've got drivers who have come out. Damien Cairns just come out of the pits, so he's fully fueled but freshly rubbered. Rick Vigor actually not too long. Actually, pardon me. Rick Vigor is stretching his stint in there on the field, so he's yet to come down the lane, which means that
he's got Matt Vanderkran as well in there as well. So
Damien Cairns, Darren Crosby, these three directly on the road together, and then yes, you said Peter Vanderkran. Not too far back. He's jumped Travis Hunt with his early pit stop and shorter fill, but Travis getting himself well inside the window, more around that even stint marker for the race so far, it would seem. He'll get some time back to the tune. About 10 seconds at the final stop, which in these cars, 10 seconds of fuel, you're looking at around 22-23 litres difference. That's what Travis has probably got on board relative to Vanderkran. There's another car in the lane is Brian Minot here. He'll bring it out of the box. 28 seconds for him in the 118 for sure.
Yeah, it's important to get in, get that tank all the way filled up. I don't think there'll be any drivers taking a partial fill like that. That just does not seem the go-to strategy here for the drivers tonight. One of the benefits of the partial fill strategy is you're putting less load through the tyres. The tyres don't have to handle that entire fuel load, but it just means that last fill will be longer than the other drivers around you. You won't have to fill the car all the way back up again. Even though you're not filling it all the way up on both stints, you do still have to add the same amount of fuel bar some saving. Quain's actually got a fair bit of pace. I've just been eyeing off him. He's reeled in Chad Lewis, and Damien Cairns has just had an issue as well. I think that was to do with some traffic that he was trying to cut his way back through. And this is the issue, ladies and gentlemen. We talked about the difficulty that these cars are having with following at the moment, even with fresh rubber. Difficulty for overtaking from Damien Kansas. He's right up on Rick Vigor. And Vigor braked quite early there. He's checked him up quite a lot. Was contact made there. And Vigor will come to the lane. And that will free Damien Cairns up to have a go. And I think there's a little bit of a stoush going on between those two drivers.
He wasn't too happy about that immediately on the blower to race control to ask about that one there. And watch out here because Scott Hugh just come out of the pit lane. He's for position, mind you, I should add. So,
hence why Cairns was wanting to get cracking on with things. So.
And I reckon he would have, because I get the feeling he would have come in. Oh, now here we go. At the front of the field, here comes the motion from the top drivers here in the race so far. But crucially, Christian Smart inherits the race lead, has not come to the pits yet after stalking the back of John Latham in the 24 Shadow Race Machine. Here's that extra lap of fuel he's been able to work out of the car here in this opening lap, although I reckon...
He's on lap 28. I reckon he's going to go to 30. I reckon he'll overcrack because I just don't see... What's the reason in overcutting by one lap? I just don't see a point in that.
Yeah, absolutely none indeed, because the tyres are so much better if you come in first, because just the physics of the tyres on these cars, it seems really favour you being the one to change first. So it's just, I think, yeah, good point you're making there. Only way Christian Smart benefits if he's got not one lap, but at minimum 2, ideally 3 laps.
I'm looking at 3. Yep. I'd be looking at 3 as well. And it seems to be the way, because Chris Miller's also stayed out, as has Michael Dumbrella. So Smart's going to come straight in.
Okay.
Christian Smart came in, so he did only have that one extra lap of fuel. I would have gone for it. I mean, if I was catching John Latham, I just don't think that I would have been able to get... I would have saved. I just wouldn't have been that close to him trying to harry him into a mistake. It's a lot of tyre wastage, a lot of time wastage as well. Dumbrell and Miller on their way into the lane as well. So maybe 28 laps was the longest that some of these drivers could take it.
Everyone's coming in, Scott. So yeah, looks like no one's willing to gamble on saving it to 29. O'Brien's going to join this group of cars in the pits in the lane as well. Here comes Hillel Cesar next on road in the lane. He will come. Stephen Kennedy in. And Paul Burns, the final driver yet to pit, all in by the end of lap number 28 here, Scott. So no one really making much savings, it would seem, out on the road. Does put Gamble back in the lead, and crucially, yeah, look how one lap has hurt Christian Smart relative to John Latham. In saying that, let me bring up the comparison between these two in the pit box. It's actually a little more than I would have thought for a one-lap stop.
Okay, so that is John Latham doing the split the fuel strategy. So I don't think he's filled that car up. I actually think that's an intentional short pit. So what we mean by a short pit, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly what we were describing a couple laps earlier. You come in, you take fresh rubber, but you don't fill the car all the way up. And the reason to do that is you want a little bit of track position right now, and he's also got the tyre benefit, which is going to help, but you're just not putting that tyre through quite as much stretch, which means that fall off is less. So the long run here will be quite good for John Latham, particularly he's gained 3.5 seconds there to Scott Gamble, and they came in on the same lap. Although their pit lane end-to-end time was identical, near identical. So he's only gained 0.7 of a second over Gamble. What was the end-to-end time for Smart, though?
Let's bring that back up on screen in that case, because I can cycle these things around here for us. So Latham versus Smart. So yeah, Latham's had a bit of a shocker on the way in or the way out. One of the two. Probably,
conservative, yeah.
Conservative on the way in. As you've called it, short-filled the car to, I think, just break away from Christian here in this phase of the race. It's not so much about, if he got the pit entry, I think, a little bit more aggressive, would definitely be closer to Scott Gamble, because realistically, he's come out about where he was relative to the leader of the race in that 543 ERT Commodore. But yeah, it's just spacing these top 3 out. And now all sort of racing their own race, can't really lean on each other here. But yeah, Gamble looking at it probably 2, maybe 3 laps short on fuel relative to Gamble being smart ahead and behind him.
You know what happened? He went for the pit lane. Where's the pit lane speed cone? Because Latham was on it from. So there's a white line actually at pit lane entry, ladies and gents. So Latham's actually on it. Yeah, the speed cone's right at the entry. Okay.
Yep, it's those yellow cones just there after that white line.
Yeah, okay, so there's another white line. If you follow this around to the right, there's another white line just to your left of screen there, just outside that shot. So that's where I actually thought pit lane speed limit was. So that says to me that Talianch's penalty might have actually been for speeding, not I'm saying pit lane entry. Because he was quite hot in there.
Okay, I didn't quite look for that one there. Just thinking, I saw him lock it up. He
did cross that yellow line. Definitely crossed the yellow line.
And I think they've really tightened it up recently, which is why I was sort of pointing out. But yeah, for reference, pit speed limit is only 64 kilometers an hour here at the Motegi East configuration.
That's still faster than
Yeah, it is faster than real life for us here in Australia at least. That's a good point to make. Now, just a slowdown penalty from Michael Quain. He's picked that up in the opening couple of corners. And probably only got about 15 more seconds at most to serve this one here. So there you go. Look at that slow off turn 6. Trying to get that one gone. Finally clears it. And brings into the equation David Kirby in the 307. And Dan Hall, I think, will be more than happy to sniff around here as they all bunch up behind the 57 squad.
Yeah, and this is going to be critical. Michael Quain pitted on lap 23. So 22 coming to 23 was when he came down the lane. 5 laps later, the queue of cars that's in behind him all came to the lane. And now Kirby starts to just maneuver that car around. He's making him think about his braking zones all the way down on the curb. Who's going to wiggle coming off of the corner? Track position continues to prevail for Michael Quain, and something's just happened to Stewart. Michael Stewart was just on the radio saying, "Oh no," and that says to me he might have made a huge mistake, was trying to avoid something.
Good, so something happening. I'll have to find out later what it is, because the battle is here back on the screen for this.
Yeah, this is going to be a dogfight, because Stuart Hall and Greg Sharp are going at it in behind these guys as well. So they've dropped back a little bit. I can tell you that Dan Hall and Stuart Hall both got, it was Dan Hall just got a really, really poor run off of the last corner, turn 4 on the run down to turn number 5 we're at the moment. And Dan Hall starting to struggle as Stuart Hall really starts to harass that rear bumper. And these guys want to get on with it. Kirby's going to take a shot, looks to the inside, up ahead of Michael Quain as well. Immediately has to rethink things. It's not easy around Motegi Park to really set up that overtake. You've got to be aggressive. You've got to have a go. And Kirby had another go. He locked the brakes in, didn't manage to get the job done. And Quain is starting to fall by the wayside. Is Kirby going to get his way through shortly?
Oh boy, it's getting a bit exciting here.
What's stalled out in that mid-race stint? What stalled out in that first stint? It's come alive after the pit stops.
It has indeed. It might be a little quiet up front, but the action is aplenty here. Look at the gaps that we've got on the side of on the timings out here. They're the interval margins between the cars out here on the road at the moment, as these two continue to eye each other off as they work their way through this opening sector here at the East configuration. There's the left and the right, the two variable speeds, the camber. As we see here, looks like we'll be safe for now. There's Wayne. We've got action here, indeed. Oh, my boy, 2x2, as it's McKnight up the inside of 199 Matty Parker.
Yeah, see, he's going to get that job done. And have a look at the traffic jam that's just caused. This all for 23rd position deep in the pack, and it was Brinson O'Brien who got the job done on deep for Val. I wonder if the heart monitor was peaking just a little bit. Someone went down in there, and that's caused Chad Figure to buy into the equation now as well. Running to turn number 5. Nobody else going to shove their nose out of alignment down here. And Jamie McKnight has got another car just up the road from him that he's immediately going to set sail afterwards. And Spriggs now buys himself into this battle pack. So it's Craig Friends, the target that's just down the road from these guys. He's the next target, if you will. But in the meantime, they're all going to pull each other along. And when you get battle packs of this, Davina Dan, I'd say trouble's only a few moments away as Spriggs wiggles the Type and Esports machine off the road there.
Critical indeed. He works his way through the complex here. Turns 8, 9, 10 at the end of the lap. Now has to try and latch back onto the cars ahead.
Ring lock.
Run away. Let's go. Oh, here we go, side by side. O'Brien and Parker heading down in towards turn number 1 here. And O'Brien is alongside and nose ahead. I think he's got that job done here if he can pull it up. And yep, he is on that apex. He's on the lane. Switch back from Parker there. Move made. But Ignite runs away in the process.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. I think Brenton O'Brien lined up and said, I think I can go with McKnight here, but he's got to be aggressive to get that done. Has Matty Parker managed to get the run off of turn number 4, turn number 5, and the run in at turn number 6, so it's turn 6. This is next major braking zone down here, and have a look at Vigor, who's going to slide down the inside of Flavel. Has he managed to pull that one up? Just from Chad Vigor. Gets the job done. 26th place, stolen away from Dean Flavel.
Breaks there in turn 6. But Parker's not done with O'Brien just yet, I'd say. He's up through turns 8 and 9 here. Let's see if we can try and just ease the car in, use the curbs. You need to be careful not to use too much of them because that easily oversight things. Of course, grass is most definitely not your friend. High-powered car with no drivers.
Yeah, and Green Ice, I was listening to somebody refer to it last night at TCR, and immediate response was, oh, is that a new drink flavour? No, Green Ice is stuff on the side of the road side on the iRacing platform. I think Matty Parker might just be just playing a little bit of patience here, but at the same time, Vigor is coming back at him. So that's going to be something you'll have to keep half an eye on as well. Keeping you up to date with the battle that went on at the front end of things, David Kirby is still behind Michael Quain, and Dan Hall's put a little bit of a buffer on Stuart Hall at this point in time. They've both put a buffer on Greg Sharp. So Travis Hunt sitting back there in P9 in the first of the JW Wembley cars. He's still doing a phenomenal job again. And have you got a mug shot of Travis Hunt? Because he's looking a little bit different this week. Tell me if you can spot the difference, ladies and gentlemen, watching along at home. What does Travis Hunt normally look like? It's going to be something just a little bit different to that. Oh, can't tell. There's something different going on there. Not sure. We'll leave it up to the people at home to come back to us with their responses.
Well, what it does mean is we can't quite give you what looks like for Travis because, good old virtual reality means...
Moment of the week last week was the big old Travis Hunt O moment.
Well, we could still get half an O moment in terms of the lower half of the facial expression if something were to go awry for Travis this evening. Obviously, that's not what we want playing this yeah, also, of course, does give Travis this flex where he'll be looking into the apex. As you can see on the feed right now, look at him, looked in towards the apex to make sure he's got the car right where he wants it. I will be curious to see if he talks about it anymore in the Discord in the next couple of weeks as to whether it's helping with his ability to position the car right, because that is the big thing when you go to virtual reality, if you can get accustomed to it.
We've been looking at that Travis Hunt cam a few... Whoa, hang on. Matty Parker's just had an incident and he just said his equipment has failed.
Oh,
so
no.
we'll be due for a safety car. What lap are we? 37. So we are not... We are massively short. Oh, I think Italians should have a crack here. The safety car's been deployed, so we will see the safety car. We won't see it as many times last week as at Long Beach, but we will be seeing the presence of the Kumho Tyres V8 Veterans safety car. We will be trying to grab the race leader. So we're well outside that pit window. We are, what are we?
About 10 laps short.
We're actually at the halfway mark. We're bang on the halfway mark.
In saying that, a whole host of drivers from the mid-pack have opted that this is a good time to come on in.
They're going to go a lap down. They're going to go a lap down. That's suicide. Oh, Jamie McKnight's straight in, straight out. So that was not a quick stop for Jamie McKnight. He was very, very aware that he did not want to go a lap down. So, and there's another car that's just fed out and been told to pass the safety car. It was the 016 machine, who has managed to grab that spot from Chad Vigor. Anyone else that is behind Chad Vigor at this point in time, which includes Rick Vigor, is the first car 1 lap down at this point in time.
And critically, look who's got trapped a lap down as well. And in fact, I can tell you this, Mike Talanch has already made 2 stops in this race. Actually came in under green flag conditions, of all things, with an extremely early pit stop. Once again, actually bring up his pit stop lap here for you.
That's not worked out for him. It was 2 laps ago.
Yeah, there it is. Unfortunately, it doesn't say. I should actually probably rather than put up as a number just like that. But yeah, wowee.
That is worst possible time. Do you know, over racing, that sinking feeling happens. It happened a good 4 or 5 times in a row, and I just went, I'm never going to pit early again. So I know the exact feeling that Michael Talianci's just got at this point in time. I would have just. When did he come in? He come in on lap 10, right? He come in lap 10, so he went 26 laps here. And he's just been released to get his lap back. Rod Hollis is going to come back through from in behind him. So he's just lost all of that track position because everyone else has effectively gotten a free pit stop ahead of him. We'll get the lap back. The benefit, though, now for Taliancic is that he's already served a penalty for exceeding pit lane speed limit for unsafe pit lane entry. We're not sure. One of the two. He definitely ticked a box for at least each, but did only serve 1 penalty. And he will manage to buy himself back into this race. And if that safety car goes another lap and I'm in Taliancic's shoes, I'm coming back in. Why not?
Yep, got to put the lap in here now, though, to get this thing in. Yeah. Now, actually, came in lap 35, and he last came in before that. It was around lap 10 or so.
Yeah.
So he would have had a couple more laps of fuel in it, but not much. As the wave around list continues to be updated. Unfortunately, I can't. I've got to hide it and then re-show it. But alas, Scotty Van Loon, the 410, has just been released as race control closes the pit exit. In the meantime, as the field will head on by down that front straightaway. So anyone who opts to come in now gets trapped whilst the field cycles by. Look like also in the pit lane, unfortunately, we've had a retirement from Michael Schroeder in the 263 quite some time ago as well. I might add him just how many drops from the server. So wave rounds complete. As far as I can see, yep, everyone who's still circulating on the lead lap once again. And so now comes the strategy games. Let's bring up on the timing tower, Scott, when everyone last pitted.
Who's coming in? Somebody did just come in. Rick Vigor. Rick Vigor came back in.
So Rick has not pitted under the safety car yet. He will now choose to do so. So I reckon we're about 3 or 4, well, at least I'd say 4 laps short of the critical lap here with a safety car period. So I reckon...
I don't think we've seen the last of the safety car. I'm going to be honest with you. Because have a look at the chaos that happened lap 1, turn 1. And it's a narrow track here. We saw him go 4 wide through turn 3, turn 4. So I've got a sneaky suspicion that we're going to see this again. This isn't it.
Yeah, well, I'll be curious to see how that goes.
I'm also really, really curious about the strategy. And the other guy that I'm curious about as well is Jeff Thomas, because remember, he was in a similar position last week, and he just went the distance.
Yeah, so many possibilities here, indeed. I still think we're too soon. Anyone who has come in now? Or is just another stop?
But my problem is, right, Scott Gamble... It's a risky call to do it. If I was in John Latham's shoes, why not? Let's try and steal one here. Let's try and put ourselves back in contention. I just don't like this queuing up and doing what everyone else did, because the last time He was the leader when that happened last time. Anyway, Scott Gamble's going to lead him away out of that last corner. And he will have a crack and a nice clear run down into turn number 1. And we'll see if he can get the job done through turn 1, turn 2, underneath the bridge. Back out the other side, trying to get down the inside, looking for it. Kirby gets another opportunity at turn number 1, and still Dave Kirby is looking at the rear bumper of Michael Quain. And I have a feeling that he is dead set, sick, and tired of the rear bumper of the 57 Mustang.
Field works their way through that opening sequence of corners here on this eastern configuration down in this second big braking room zone, I should say, turn 6. Seems to make the move. Let's go down, all ranged up on the rear bumper of David Kirby. These three are about equidistant. Chad Lewis has made it through on the inside of Bilal Cesar. This is back in 21st place, but move done nicely there. Also, similarly, Paul Burns and Jeff Thomas have just exchanged spots. They go to 85.
Fastest first sector of the race. Fastest first sector of the race for Scott Campbell. So he is wasting no time. And Jeff Thomas, we're going to keep an eye on as the dark horse in terms of strategy. Is he going to be able to set something up to happen here? Overtaking at an all-time maximum difficulty level. And Dave Kirby wants to get the job done. He's still sitting in behind. He's had a couple of opportunities. He's had a couple of moments to stick that nose out, but still ahead is Michael Quain at this point in time, and now it's also Dan Hall. So Dan Hall's got that job done for beat number 5. Can Dan Hall be the driver to get the spot in over Dave Kirby? And this will tell the story. Is it going to be a mistake on the run out here? A little bit of a wiggle. Hall's right there. I think he's just going to have a late stab. Just dives out the last possible moment. Wasn't expecting it from Kirby, but ladies and gentlemen, that is why he's finished the most number of races, most consistent finisher, because sometimes you know when to fight, sometimes it's just better to let it happen.
Apologies there, I had the wrong senses. We went to the replay and also popped in that rear fence. Apologies there, Jeff Thomas. He was on screen at the same time. I did one of those moments there. Usually I think I get better at that as time goes on, but adding commentary duties and
I was about to say, yeah.
the brain just sparks and
Mate, the last time I saw you,
from time to time.
The last time I saw you do talking and something else at once, it was you were driving and talking at the same time, so driving and commentating. How well did that end before?
Solid mixed bag, but I can blame this guy for a bad pass.
Yeah. Look, I'll join you on that for sure. 10 out of 10. All right, battles continuing as well up and down the field. There's a few just going at it, and normally it's about this sort of safety race. If we hadn't had a safety car, we would be really glued to those 20th or so battles. So it's worthwhile keeping ourselves in the mix. I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, it's like watching a snake at the moment. The cars are just so close together in that midfield. I'm going to do it. I'm going to throw Scott McCune under. If it happens now, he has full rights and full responsibility to reach out to me in the next week and say, Scott, can you please stop talking about me? But he's in 10th. Best driver of the season. He's looking phenomenal. And I do love me a green and black car.
Looking racy here too on the back bumper of Travis Hunt as well. Let's bring up here real quick these two guys and see how they're going here on the restart.
He's looking really good.
I wanted to make here. Look at that opening sector. Travis Hunt dropping nearly 0.2 of a second on McCune. He did get back some time in the middle of the lap, but as we round the last couple of corners here, jump on board the 77. Back forwards to the 32. Okay, so there you go. It ended up being actually a bit of a rough final sector there, but these two guys now close together.
I wonder whether or not he wasn't checked up at actually turn 10, and that's actually going to cause some of that lap time to bleed away. He looks so much through here. It's right here that he looks just so much better. Watch the run that he's going to get off these next two corners. Travis Hunt is having a lot of problems positioning that car and carrying the momentum. This could be where it happens. I'd have a dive. I'd have a dig if I'm Scott McCune. No, he's just going to settle in there. I think this is where he's got to set it up and just have a go. And Michael Dumbrell's had something happen.
Yeah, that's quite the something there for the 054. Oh, they've scrambled the safety car straight away.
Immediately.
What else has happened out there? Hang on, we've got...
I think this is it. I think this
Oh!
is it. Whoa, there we go. Is that ladder?
That is Ken Ladder. That is Ken and Ladder.
Do you reckon that's an avoidance? That looks like it's an avoidance. They're just looking at the marks on the track there, that looks like that's an avoidance. Everyone into the pit lane. Absolutely everybody. Sorry, there was an opportunity there. I'm never going to miss an opportunity to sing on stream. I'm sorry, Dan. Your ears might be blowing out. Headset users at home, beware.
He's going to win the race off pit road.
Well, remember, John Latham short pit on that first stop, so he's actually at a huge disadvantage. A bunch of cars went by. Stephen Banks, Matt Skulls, they've said, stuff it. We're hanging out. It's 30 laps from here to the end. It is a big save from here to the end of the race. Yeah. Wow. Strategy shenanigans, Dan Yeaman.
There are indeed. Let's bring up the last pit stop lap. The driver who wins the race off pit lane out of those who came in. Look how far ahead Christian Smart has ended up.
Has he filled that car?
Well, let's have a... Okay, let's bring up the comparison here. Well, we'll bring up... if I can find Scott Campbell from the list of drivers that I've got here, which I should if I can do my dance and look closely. Unfortunately...
Whilst he's digging for stats, ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you, Dumbrell did not get back going again. You just saw Christian Smart, Ken Ladder. That one starts with a K. Struggle, retrieve the car from the roadside. So he is back in pit lane, and Michael Dumbrell was exactly the same. So a little bit to unravel there, and this is the pit lane. 7 seconds. 7 seconds, Dan. No way. No, there is no way that Christian Smart has filled that car up. There is no way.
I don't think so either. And that's a good call. I think that's the right call to make. Well, I think that's the right observation to make at this point in the race. But yeah, that shakes things up quite a bit because, yeah, what are they going... Well, what are we going to do about that one? And now, I'm going to have to do my... Alright, wave rounds are already done, so I don't know if we're going to get a huge amount of time to...
We'll get one more lap
on the safety car.
Yeah.
Got to scroll on back and find this incident because we haven't even had a chance to try and digest exactly what happened here. Alright, one more lap. I've got to find it. Scrolling.
There's a lot happened because there was a lot of cars going for avoidance, and that was what, lap 2? Hey, hang on, have we here in the commentary box called another one correct? I believe I said about 6 laps ago. I reckon there's going to be another safety car here. Found it? You've got it. So this is the run off of 4 5s, and the run down to 10 of the 6, and Dumbrell just gets wiggly.
Oh, gets Craig Friend. And, oh, that's what gets Ken Ladder. Oh, that is particularly brutal. Engine's blown already. Jump back one last time. So he gets so there's Dumbrell. Friend wrecked and re-enters scene.
Completely and utterly not in control of his car. And Craig Friend, unfortunately, I think you are a little bit... Or you say it's luck, ladies and gentlemen, when you're trying to avoid incidents of that nature. But Craig Friend has created some bad luck of his own tonight by having contacts, and in turn one that got him that drive through penalty. He wouldn't be back there if not for that contact, but neither would Matt Vanderkrane either, so... My word, Stephen Banks has had a go here. He's had a right royal sniff. He's seen something. Now, if there's another safety car, he's in... He'll just go to the tail end of the train. But he will have a little bit of track position. He might pop out with an advantage. He might not. We'll have to see. Matt Skulls, in the meantime, is up to P number 2. And Tim Nicol, who had a right royal mess of things last time out at Long Beach, is in P3. The first car to pit is P5. So there were 4 cars that did not pit, and Robert Chrisdale is the 4th car. Brenton O'Brien stayed out as well.
Yeah,
So he got himself in the middle. And look at Dan Hall. You know what? Scott Gamble sat in that box. I don't know. Can we compare? We're going to have to compare Christian Smart's pit stop to Dan Hall's. Because if they're similar, Gamble sat there longer than he needed to.
We can indeed compare Christian Smart and Dan Hall's pit stop. If I can find Dan Hall from the list of drivers, which apparently... Would I want to find someone? Apparently it's a nightmare and a half. We'll get back to that in a moment because here comes the second restart of this race on lap 45. The pit window, the pit strategy has been blown open by this safety car as they work their way over the hill and down past the timing line once again. Can the drivers who have come to the pits here on this second restart make the fuel last? Or are we going to see drivers who have stayed out here to get the track position now capitalise with not having to save and pushing on to the end of their fuel window here in this mid-phase of the race?
I can tell you, everyone has got through this restart at this point in time. Okay, but we're still getting through turns 2, 3, 4, and 5 as they staircase their way up and out of turn number 1. It looks like the field's got through there this time. It'll be the rundown at turn number 6 that will be the issue, and probably somebody around David Kirby's probably going to be a good one to watch. He's actually latched onto the rear bumper of John Latham, who Latham went backwards. Remember, ladies and gents, he did feel nowhere near as much as everyone else in that previous stop, so he has gone backwards. And now Taliancic tries to get down the inside of Halil Cesar, who pinches a brake. This is going to present Taliancic with an opportunity, and nearly an opportunity to give him a little bit of a touching up, and Taliancic will get to the inside. He's going to get down the inside. Cesar holds him off around the outside. He will get drive, and that's going to reward him with the inside to the last corner. He's going to try and pinch him tight as Taliancic. He's got the long way to go. Is he going to try and double back, or is somebody else shut the nose down the inside, looking for the drive off? Gets the crisscross. Taliancic not quite there. Slots back in behind the rear bumper of Halil Cesar, and he needs to get this one done as Michael Taliancic, the 21, to the inside. Finally gets down the inside at turn number 1, but still not done. Halil Cesar still on the outside. Finally will squeeze through from the 21. And that is how you set up a move at Motegi before pinching a brake as well.
He nearly got into the right rear corner of the 21 and potentially could have turned him around there. In all of that, that would have been nasty, to say the least, if that had happened here. And look at this here, Chad Lewis on the attack now, trying to follow through Taliancic up the inside of turn 6, will not take no for an answer. And Ryan Renaud would like to take the spoils of that one, as well as Cesar is now fending off people left, right and centre. This is an absolute bloodbath out here on this restart for the driver of the number 5, who's being absolutely harassed. As Tim Nicol and Christian Smart have possibly got together.
Romanov really sent it in the back there.
Yeah, that's true, he did.
Yeah, and Tim Nichol's now trying to spot one, just hang on to places. Recognises he's on that roll of rubber. There's a ton of pace in and around him. Have a look at Crystal trying to hold off Scott Gamble at this point in time. And this is critical, ladies and gentlemen. This could be for your race lead. So Gamble's going to get a hurry on. There are 2 cars in between him and Christian Smart. And Smart is going in pursuit of Matt Scholes now. But Scholes is going in pursuit. He's hanging with Stephen Banks. Why don't you?
Now, you wanted to see those pit stops. I kind of had them up on the screen, but we've not had a chance to talk about them. Here they are, between Christian Smart and Dan Hall.
So bang on. So I would 100% say that Scott Gamble was sitting there waiting for fuel, and nobody gave him the go-ahead that the fuel was filled. He's just sat there for an extra 7 seconds for nothing. Well, 6.6, but 6.5 seconds, 7 seconds. What's the difference? That's cost him a lot. This could be Dan Hall's ticket into this race. He's lurked beneath the water. He got that move done on Kirby very quickly as well. So Hall's definitely got pace. And a driver that went victory lane in the Kumho Tyres V8 Vets for the first time ever last season in Split 1. Could he make it 2 seasons in a row?
On the inside, I was on board with Gamble for this lap to be like, well, just to ask the question, are we going to see any fuel saving from the 543? The answer on that particular lap seems to be no. As they work their way down the hill, Crystal has lost that spot.
If you wanted a game of chess, ladies and gentlemen, normally you would go to chess.com to see that. Tonight, it's on iRacing.com from the Kumho Tyres V8 Veterans. numbers. They're playing away in the background. Stats man, yay man, might have a breakdown. It's got to be, what, 3 litres they need to save? It's going to be tight. Because when they went green, it was 28 laps, and that's what we said the maximum fuel window was. So I reckon it's only 2 litres. Because they were about 2 laps under pace car.
Yeah, well, I reckon, yeah, we're still maybe, these drivers here, they're going to have to stretch at least 1. If they came into the pits.
I think it's tighter than that. I don't think it's a full lap. But you've also got to overtake lap traffic, which will save you just a little bit. Kirby's back to 12th from a driver that was lurking in 4th, 5th, that sort of a range, and he's still going to get by Damien Cairns ahead of him, who did pit with everyone else. So he's lost out to Cairns in that pit window, and now Gamble's really squabbling with a few drivers up there looking for spots as well. Christian Smart's starting to make inroads. He's got to the rear bumper of the race leaders, and now have a look at the battle. This is Paul Burns on the outside, who's looking to try and hang on to that spot. Here comes Damien Cairns to go down the inside of him. Kirby's going to try and follow him through if that opportunity presents itself, and this is an ailing Paul Burns, a la Peter van der Kraan from Long Beach.
Now, I actually want to just pull up.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, up the inside. He's looking. Is Kirby trying to follow through? Have a look at the pits. Have a look at the pit stop time for Damien Cairns here in the battle box in the bottom corner. He did that under safety car. Surely he's put in only what he can to cover time. Jeff Thomas had some trouble further on in the back.
Maybe he's thinking that there might be another safety car yet again. I can tell you Greg Sharp is going to try and get down the inside of Paul Burns, following through on that one. And have a look at the chaos at turn 5 at the end of the staircase. And it is all kicking off. And if Damien Cairns has underfilled that car, that is exactly what he wanted to see. I think they've all gotten through. And I think Scott McEwen's involved.
McEwen's had some struggle on this lap. He was ahead of it all season. I saw it in the corner of my eye happen on the Zoom feed for Jeff Thomas. The first car I picked up, Stephen Gretsch going around, but then all of a sudden we've had Jeff Thomas seemingly entangled, Jason Spriggs entangled, and Michael Stewart also entangled. It feels like it's really a case for Michael. I've seen him unfortunately getting caught, and he calls into race control there on that one there. So,
and an update as well.
Start. It looks like it might start. Stephen Gretsch. So I'm going to go to the replay here if I can and try and piece this one together, Scott.
Yes, there's a lot to sort of pick out, and I can tell you that there is an absolute squabble going on positions around 20th spot at this point in time. So, watching drivers, we just saw a couple of guys ahead of this that went side by side, and unfortunately for Jeff Thomas, and I have a fair idea that he's attempted to redress that. No, he's got tagged at the next corner. So we went 2 by 2 through multiple corners on that lap, and the melee has just been caused. So the first car around was Gretsch. And it's all just kicked off from there. And this is Jeff Thomas trying to cut his way through after that lap 1 chaos.
Starts at turn 1, makes the move, but Gretsch gets back up the inside, and then the question was enough space left for Thomas there. He looks to be on the white line from that angle on the cameras here.
Yeah.
And then, contact with Jason Spriggs. Michael Stewart trying to dodge. Unfortunately, skews out sideways into it, and then everyone coming on through has to now avoid these stricken cars here through that turn 3 through 6 corners.
Well done, actually, to be perfectly honest. The fact that the only car was caught up was Michael Stewart, wasn't part of it, really, is good job to the whole field. Everyone sort of checked up, got on the anchors, and prevented it. Now McEwen's going to try and slice back down the inside of Stephen Kennedy. And the driver's just ahead of these guys at pitch brakes as well. I can tell you it's Chad Lewis did well. So McEwen's going to get this one done, then goes in side by side into turn number 2. That is going to run Stephen Kennedy quite wide. Chad Finger's going to seize upon the opportunity, but we've got to keep our eyes up the road because Flavel and Lewis are going at it, hammer and Tom. And now, slicing back down the inside from Chad Lewis. He's going to pull it up at the apex. Gets the job done at turn 6. Flavel back 1 more spot.
Same corner, same time. Ryan Minot up the inside of Michael Quinn, who unfortunately has faded from being in the top 5 to in the mid-20s here in this race. He's not going to give up the spot just yet, but Minot now hanging on to the inside of 9 as they switch back for turn 10. Now Quain can try and keep this spot finally. Oh, Cesar gets into the left rear.
Straightens him out.
Straightens him out, thankfully, indeed. Expect maybe a redress request to come in there, but...
Well, hang on. McCune's down the inside of Dean for Vel at the last corner as well, so he's going to get the job done. He'll have the inside down at turn number 1, but here comes Chad Vigor, who's going to buy into the argument. Are they going to go 3 wide at turn number 1? Thinking about it from Vigor, backs it off, slots it down in behind, but now the inside run down at turn number 1 for Scott McCune. Will get the job done. It's going to line one up now for Chad Vigor. Gets down the inside and Flavel sinking like a stone into the mid-20s.
Spot.
Well, he lost 2 spots. He lost 2 spots in that, and he lost another 1 or 2 on the block prior as well.
Big bloodbath here.
And McCune then locks the brake down at turn 6. Lewis was going to try and slice down the inside. He's going to look for a little bit of side draft on the run to 7. Now they'll go side by side. Here McCune's off in the weeds. Manages to hang on to it, and Chad Vigor manages to come away with it. Sorry, wrong Chad. The next Chad on the road is Chad Lewis, and he's starting to bite on another battle pack. It's gone crazy. What did you feed these drivers in the pit stops?
So the answer is, as always, well, it hasn't bred the safety car that you might suggest that safety cars breed in due course, but you're not wrong. These guys are definitely on something a little more than the normal. Look at this here.
A little bit of mayhem muesli bars, why don't you?
We've got drivers like Telly Ansich finally back into this race thanks to the safety cars and wave around procedure. But he's got 3 stops to his name already in this race. I don't think he can make it to the end because he has. The last time he came into the pits was back on lap 43. It's going to be that mega save as Ryan's just been dispatched by John Latham, or has he? The answer is not quite, because Latham's gone indeed.
I can tell you there's more chaos kicking off. Paul Burns is running away. So Burns is continuing. We were talking about Flavel sinking like a stone, and then we've got to keep our eyes off you guys. So Burns was the cork in the bottle in that battle pack. He didn't pit. He didn't pit at that last
Peter Van der Crane.
The one before, and now trying to slice his way down and in amongst it. And have a look at Jamie McKnight. I was thinking of McKnight, said Michael. Wrong way around. McKnight is trying to get this job done here as well on Peter Van der Crane. I believe they might have just touched just a little bit. There was a lock break in there for sure. And Chad Lewis is right there and right in amongst it. Him and Van der Crane are now going to get the opportunity to go side by side through the final turn. Turn number 11 and set themselves back on the run down to turn number 1. And boy, I tell you what, when you look back at this race, it is going to be all over this little stint of racing right here. And Michael Quain, in and amongst this all, has just picked himself up a drive-through penalty.
Yeah. Did hear that one indeed. So, that was meanwhile, look at this here. Scott Gamble trying to make his way forward. He's having to go the outside of Matt Skulls here.
Skulls is not giving this up. He's got the inside, just grabs that one straight back off him. And Gamble does not want to see this whatsoever.
He's obviously thinking about the man here. Let me extend this out here and show you the top 4 in this race. You can see him just there in shot. Chrisdale also trying to hang on to this one, but that short pit stop under the safety car. Christian Smart got enough for that ball to take it home from here. That is the question we'll have to wait and see. Work their way down the hill, lap 56. 74 begins inside of 20 laps to go, 19 to be precise. We still have the question over our heads as to whether anyone can make it home here to the end of this one.
I reckon Dan Hall and John Latham are both saving. They've both got their way by Brenton O'Brien now. He didn't pin under that safety car. Damien Cairns is in there and amongst them as well. It's just so many drivers with so much going on. If anyone can make it home, it's going to be Scott Gamble. Well, that's assuming that there was a hole in the tank for Scott Gamble to fill.
I mean, I'm operating on the presumption that given them a look, actually, let me bring up the pit stop time for everyone here on the tower. Now, this obviously doesn't count the lap they stopped, so you need to actually consider. Some people are actually, I can tell you if you're actually pretty precise. Actually, I'll get back to this. Oh, hello.
Hang on. Manages to get it back going yet again, but Chad Vigor. Well, he was in and amongst the battle, in behind Chad Lewis, and Peter Van der Crane was he was going toe-to-toe with. And it has ended up on the outside. I think that's turn number 7 for Chad Vigor, and immediately onto race control about that one as well. So it'll be interesting to see. It's got McCune as the next car up on the right, so I hope McCune wasn't involved in that one. Actually, what about with Chad Lewis? Because Peter Van der Crane's got past both of those guys.
Yeah, there's been a couple of incidents. I think it's time for us to queue up the replay machine. I've got a handful of incidents on that 5.
Oh, there's massive damage to the front end of Peter Van der Crane. Massive front end damage. He's struggling for power because somebody just blew by him in a straight line as well.
Let's see, this is the 31 on the screen now. Tucked up behind Stewie Hall.
Watch this.
Oh boy, yeah, that is brutal. Right, so I'm going to say I'm going to cue the replay machine here. We've got a couple of supposed incidents that happened on this one. First up was Chris Miller. That's gone about 30 seconds. Too much. So this has happened down at turn 1 of some kind. So what have we got? Greg Sharp versus Travis Hunt ahead, and Stuart Hall as well. We've then got Taliancic looking for... Oh no, Chris Miller locks the brakes and gets into the back of Brooks. That sends the two of them off into the dirt. And then we've got down at turn 6, same lap. Oh, synchronised spin there, Scott. Well, Chad actually gathers it back up. Lewis, that is. Chad Vigor then has this happen in front of him. And he's going to go to the inside. Oh, he clips Stewie Hall. That's what's triggered that collection of carnage there for us. And I think I need to stay on the replay here because then lap after 57, trouble between Stephen Gretsch and Jeff Thomas. That turn 6 as well.
Both drivers have already been involved in carnage tonight. And it's going to continue. Oh, that was a hit.
Michael Dumbrell trying to split the middle. Unfortunately couldn't. And one last replay before we go back live. Tim Nickel. Start lap 58. Unfortunately there he's going to run wide all by himself. A big battle pack under pressure for sure, but there's an error on that one. So the two drivers who filled it right up at the safety car, Scott, they're going at it.
Yep, Dan Hall and John Latham head-to-head. Latham comes away with the spot. Finally, after a little bit of a protracted battle there, Dan Hall grabbed that spot with a little bit of strategery in the lane. Now has had to give that one back to John Latham through raw pace from Latham's side of things. Latham will now set his eyes on Prisdale next on the road, and one of the cars get to stop. But I tell you what, Stephen Banks is doing an almighty job!
Damien Cairns and Brenton O'Brien entangle in turn 1. That caused a huge check-up for the field coming on through. Although, it looks like they get away with it. The track parts ways just in time. And it's tripped up, yeah, a couple more people on that one there. My word, that was something there. Go back to it real quick here. Looks like Cairns locks the anchors a tiny bit as Brenton O'Brien also turning in, I think, for turn 1 to try and force the issue on the inside. But and then, so we actually get back focus on O'Brien here. Just watch out for Jamie Knight. He's going to try and, I think, come through the middle here. And O'Brien right across in front of him. That was close.
And then check up multiple cars into the back of each other as well. Because that's one of the things when you're in an incident and or you see an incident on the road and Knight would have had the complete visibility. Some of those other cars would not have been able to see a thing up in underneath those rear wings. That's why they weren't on the anchors. That's why that checkup caused a huge kerfuffle to the cars that was in behind Jamie Knight. So that's where we're really looking for that one. Well, hang on. Talianchich is back inside the top 10. When did that happen? And Greg Sharp's the next car on the road, so there's been more chaos unfold. And Sharp is missing a rear boot lid.
Talianchich has done the thing where he was in that he was running behind that battle pack, so he's been able to get by. We got past both Kenz and O'Brien, and spots off of them in the moment. Now in a group which basically goes up to 8th. Still reckon he owes us another pit stop, Scott. But
Ooh, it's getting spicy. It's getting spicy.
Because the biggest thing is I'm trying to find people saving fuel, and I'm not really finding that around here.
Well, it's not much. It's not much at all. They might have already done it, or they might be saving it for later on the piece because you've absolutely got to get the spot. But if you get checked up out of traffic, that will be enough. So Michael Quain's ended back up in pit lane as well. Oh, sorry, no, it wasn't pit lane. Backwards at turn 6.
Yeah, not looking too healthy there, and may have gotten entangled with Michael Stewart.
Oh, hang on.
Racing entry.
We'll have to keep our eyes on that one. It just sort of lurked beneath the surface because Scott Gamble is on the rear wing of Christian Smart, and neither of them have been able to make an impression on Stephen Banks at this point in time. So Banks, albeit, well, this could be where the fuel saving's happening. They just want to sit in behind him, just save some fuel.
Yeah, I would say so too. This is the time you need to save the fuel. I mean, look at that. They've dropped into the 121s. These guys were banging out 120s earlier, Scott, when they were in clear air and not saving. So, well, there you go. They've dropped a good half a second, if not more.
Well, look at, I would be having a look at Christian Smart because he's been banked up in behind Gamble for a number of laps. And, Christian Smart's been banked up in behind Stephen Banks for a number of laps. And Scott Gamble's just sort of eked his way forward and tagged onto the back end of these guys. So back into the 20s. So that seems to me maybe an issue for Stephen Banks on the lap prior. Well, here we go. That's a racy looking Scott Gamble. And that is starting to give the hurry up because if Christian Smart cannot get this done in the near future, Scott Gamble might just have a crack, and he's starting to lurk. It's the difficulty of following through turn 2 and turn 3, and then through 4 and 5, carrying that momentum. But he can get right up and underneath that rear wing whenever they're in a straight line. Difficulty in staying there back up through here. Remember, Gamble had difficulty in overtaking Skulls a couple of laps ago down the inside at turn 7 and on the run to turn number 8. He's now managed to clear Skulls. And Skulls is sticking with these guys. He's going with them.
News from Race Control in the background. And it's not good news for Damien Cairns. We're seeing him down the pit lane. So driver penalty for his contact with Brenton O'Brien. Rough night for the 88 Type N Esports machine as we continue to watch out the rear end bumper of Christian Smart. You see here, I still reckon, 3-4 tenths off what they could be doing if they wanted to at this point in the race.
Ooh, and after that flick spin in front of the field, which caused that checkup as well, that discarded Greg Sharp's rear wing, Brenton O'Brien's actually been issued a post-race points penalty. Warrior! Well, do you think that Brady Baldwin would be happy with the drifting skills and the dirt skills just on show by Scott Gamble right there?
Well, he'd probably be asking for a lot more, I reckon. All things considered. Gamble, that's definitely a little looser than I think he'd like, but I'd argue relatively tame receiving. Now,
how long do you wait? How long do you wait before you start correcting Stephen Banks? Because I think the issue is here, if Smart gets by, I don't think Gamble's going to wait till. I think Gamble will just slice straight on by. I think Banks is only good whilst he's got control front end and he's controlling where the air's going. The instant that falls away, Christian Smart, towards the tail end of that straight, really bled off the back end of Stephen Banks. He was right there with him off the exit of the corner.
So I'm going to borrow the battle box in the bottom right of screen to sort of use it a bit differently here to keep our times up on screen between the drivers. So here's this. We only have 3 drivers.
Oh, hang on, because here comes Gamble looking for the hole down the inside. And he was going to make that hole bigger, and Christian Smart just said, no, that door is not yet open to you.
Boys, can you just give me a moment to do the strategy talk? That'd be nice, but apparently no. We're not going to get that. So we've only got 3 drivers in the top 10 now in this race who didn't come to the pits under the safety car. Now, try and remember those last pit laps. And realistically, we're only thinking of Banks, Scholes, and Christo. We basically exclude them from this conversation that I want to have now.
First, 4th, 5th, wipe them out.
And talking here now about the difference in that pit stop time under the yellow. Most of those guys could have put the same amount of fuel in the car. Give or take maybe 2 odd seconds, I'll say, to account for variations. Unfortunately, I can't just pull up as, oh, hello. Let's go back down the field. Because Rick Sharp gained a spot back off Taliantis. Yeah, they actually exchanged places there on the run to turn 1.
Well, I thought Sharp was actually ahead of Taliantis.
He was.
So Tally must have got that one done and then made a mistake.
Let's have a look at here if we can real quick.
I'm so worried you're on a replays at this point in time.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Definitely a dicey one. So lobs up the inside. Oh, he locks the rears again, and oh, he's hit him. So Sharp's on the outside somewhere. Travis Hunt wanted in, but actually being on the outside there, advantage Sharp.
No. That's Taliantis giving that one back.
I mean, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that is.
That's a redress. That is what a redress looks, and change the race lead at this point in time. Banks finally failed to get that car pulled up for turn number 11. Christian Smart accelerates his way on through. How much fuel is Smart looking to save? How deep is Scott Gamble going to take it as he slides to the inside? Not quite deep enough. He's going to be held up. The run through 2, 3, 4. This will be the first time he's in underneath the rear wing of that 077. The 077 starts to come back. A Christian Smart who rotates it really nicely to turn 3, through turn 4, on through the flip-flop of 5. Now the run down to 6. Gamble does not get the drive he was looking for. He's got a double draft down on here, but 6 is not going to be the overtaking opportunity that he needs, and Christian Smart buys himself a buffer. Could that be the deciding move for the race, or is Smart out of fuel?
Show you the lap, pit stop times again. Exclude Banks, Scholes, and Christo. They pitted under green flag. Haven't come to the pits since. Smart. We don't know if he's got enough fuel, but I would argue surely he's confident. You don't break away like that if you're worried about your fuel level. Gamble, did he overfuel? Or did he, more to the pack, did he just
Here we go.
fill it up as he'll get through? Job done. Right, no more issues for him. Clean road. Go attack Christian Smart. Yeah. Did he make a mistake under safety car? You know, I'm always wondering, did he maybe overshoot his pit box?
Well, that's one thing, but there's also, well, yeah, I might have to go back and have a little look at that, Dan, so leave that one with me.
All right, I'll leave that with you. Fair enough. Because, yeah, then you've got guys like, we've also got John Latham, massively longer than anyone else under the yellow.
He underfilled in that first stop.
And that'll be a good place, good reminder. And see, that's the thing is why I say, haven't really thought about, did Scott Gamble make a mistake? Because
Did Gamble take tyres?
Surely
and
he's
Smart
taking...
didn't.
It would be suicide not to take tyres. And Christian
No. Hang on. They only pit 8 laps before they actually come back in. So they're only out there for 8-6 laps. Whether Gamble's gone, right, I think I've got this, and took tyres, incidentally, didn't actually mean to take pit tyres at pit stop. And that's what's cool, because that could be a factor as well. He didn't I've checked his pit stop now. He did not overshoot that bay. That could also explain Christian Smart's inability to get past Banks at a rate of knots, because they were on the same tyres.
The thing is, there, Scholes throws the white flag. The 605 cannot go any further in this race. He comes down to the lane for his second stop, and it'll be a sprint to the end through the 606. 7 laps left on the board. And this one here for the Motegi 250. Look at how quickly he will tumble down and out of the order here.
I think we've got 7, so there's still 7 on the board. Smart has pulled away to a second lead. And we don't know if any of these guys are going to make... Well, we know Stephen Banks is not going to make the end of the race. That much, just we can put a tick mark next to it. Not going to make the end of the race, crossing out. Signed, sealed, and delivered. Skulls, we've got to keep an eye on where Skulls popped out, because that's going to be where Banks is effectively going to pop out. About a second difference at the end. And Skulls has actually popped out 14th. So that is significantly, he qualified, I think, 30th or 31st. So that's a huge game from Skulls.
He's still up 19 spots from where he started this race tonight, despite not pitting under the yellow with everyone else. Instead, opting to run long, but he is now going to be a rocket ship, relatively speaking. He's got the fuel he needs. He's got the tyres that he wants.
No, you wouldn't have taken tyres with that stop. There's no way you take tyres.
You do, because you take fuel at the same time as tyres, and I can tell you, he's taken more fuel than he took for tyres.
Well, here we go, slicing it down the inside from Skulls. He's going to grab himself 12th spot. So maybe there is some fresh rubber for the Riot Sim Racing machine. The 605 making his debut season in the Kumho Tyres V8 Veterans. Could it be a debut top 10 finish from Matt Skulls?
I reckon he's on for it, because the thing is this. I also did some extra testing of my own numbers to make sure. Tyres, oh my, here he comes. He has got the rubber on board, as I expected. Up the inside, McKnight has no defense, and he's gained in another spot because someone else has... Dan Hall's come to the pits.
So he was short.
And remember how long Dan Hall was in the pits for prior to this? The same time as Christian Smart.
I thought Christian Smart was at 12 seconds. So now that question mark becomes a fair bit bigger. Because if he's pit now, well, has he pit now for tyres and to have a crack? Like...
You wouldn't. As we've been talking about all night, the track position in here is so critical. Smart does not have the fuel to make it home. Gamble retakes the race lead. That pit stop...
You back the pace up now. You just monstrously back the pace up because you got the margin.
In fact, he has got such a margin. John Latham's the next best on the road. 7.5 seconds down. If Gamble's got any concerns, as you said, he can now roll this thing to the line.
What's the throttle percentage? Oh, I'm not doing the numbers. I'm not doing the numbers, Dan Yeaman. You're doing the numbers. He's pushing on. There was no saving there whatsoever from Gamble.
That's what I'm saying. If there's any saving, it is teeny tiny micro amounts. Through, I reckon, this little sector up here. Roll it a little bit more between here. Maybe do the same start of the lap.
Skulls has got by Chrisdale, so he's now back up another spot. And Chrisdale's come to the lane from P8, and he's come back out. So Skulls is up to 9. McCune is in 8th. On for his best run of the season, but he's going to get harassed by the Riot Sim Racing driver on fresh rubber. So this is going to be all over the back of Scott McCune, 77 to the inside. Skulls not quite far enough up. The hero dive on the fresh rubber late in the piece, and he is looking racy and starting to show the wares of the 605. Down the inside, huge crisscross. Can he pull it up? Yes, he does. Jump's not quite done. Still side by side. Scott McCune trying to hang on, trying to defend for all money. He's on all the rubber, and he's managed to do so with 9 feeds into the lane in the background. They're all in the pot. I've got no one finishing this race now.
27 laps, McKnight was done. Gamble starts his 28th.
You're kidding!
Kirby and Taliancic dueling. Now for third in this race here, Scott. Thanks to all his joy. Here comes Smart on fresh rubber. Look at him. He's going to have these guys like blood in the water. For a shark here is Tally defending like he's got, well, nothing left to lose in this one here. Sharp looking around the outside of Kirby, and Smart to the inside of Sharp. Gets the place there in turn 6.
Let's just open the hole, and now Christian Smart's going to look at the guys ahead and say, hang on, I'm still going to come back, and I'm going to earn third place back in this thing. Taliancic with a pit lane stop and hold penalty for speeding on the entry. Back at lap number 10, has come from the rear. He's on the podium, but not for long.
Look at the braking advantage Smart's got on the rubber. A little deep there at turn 10 that time round, but he's coming quickly. Look at Tally. Poor run off of turn 10. In the meantime, as they work their way up into this corner here. This is absolute madness out on circuit.
Gamble is still going. Gamble's still going. So is John Latham. And Smart, you've got to have a go. You've just got to pull out and have a crack. And Kirby realizes and covers it. This is going to be so tricky because he's on the fresh rubber. It's so easy to just use that grip through these next few corners. This is going to be hugely important. He's got to set himself up. He backs off turn 2. He's going to carry a little bit of momentum through 3. Has better track position for 4. Huge wiggle from Kirby. There's the opportunity. You don't see a move at turn 4. And Christian Smart snags one.
Oh, Sharp's looking for it the inside. Deep on the brakes turn 6 for Kirby. King gives him a car's width and nothing more, and Sharp not able to trust himself to pull that one up. Will slot back in line in all of this. Stephen Banks, he dropped back here in P7 after taking his
what a game.
Home. He's still up 13 spots in that race. Scholes has gotten through on the QMOS. We had to look forwards. That is now plus 24, but it's still not the biggest gainer of the race. My word. As I said, this race has been absolutely thrown for a curple. There are your big moves tonight.
Tally covers! Major move! Late on, right before they went to the braking zone to the final corner. Tally covered! Christian Smart looking to fake him on. There might be a question mark over was that too late? Was how late Taliancic moved? He's got to cover yet again. And Smart will just pinch him. He'll say, you can have that inside. I'm going the long way. I've got fresh rubber. He's on the wrong side of the road. Tally holds him up, holds him wide. Now he's going to get through 2. He made the move here last lap at 4. Can he get it done yet again? Smart's looking forward, and something's happened to Tim Nicol as well. At the back end of things, race control investigated, but here it comes. Hovers down the inside of the track. Here comes Smart to the outside, gets the nose ahead. Is Tally going to fight this one back? You better believe it, because Smart ran deep at turn number 6.
Still won't give it up.
What a race! Well, it's not over. He's still got him covering it down the inside. There's one more lap to go after this one, and Scott Gamble is about to go into the last corner. He's about to take the white flag. He's not yielding. Every drop of fuel is going to get summoned out of the 5-4-3, and he's going to need every little bit of it. Taliancic covers out of 10. On the run down to 11. Pinches him tight. This time Christian Smart. He's got a lot of ability to hold it. Hold it, hold it, they make contact, they rub! It's gonna be Smart! He got the drive that he needed, finally gets the job done, back on the podium! Oh my word! Where did this motor race
not done with this yet.
from? And it's not done, Tally's there! Christian Smart's on the outside, it is the final lap of the race, with a nose ahead, Tally's gonna run him wide! He's still there, gets the job back done, Michael Taliancic!
Hanging into the inside of turns 1 and 2. Leaves just another. Christo, unfortunately, has had an error that drops him outside the top 10. But once again, Taliancic defensive to turn 6. The better tyres for Smart, trying to force the issue around the outside, and he still can't get the run. As he's trying, and then has to yield through turn 7. Kirby in with a chance, perhaps, at one final lunge.
Yeah, and here they come. Dave Kirby's there. The rubber's just about gone now. There's only going to be 2 more corners to this thing. Gamble's round in the last corner. He's done. He'll be cuffed, spotter, and tied to the line, but he got the job done. That's all he needed to do. Now back on the inside. Taliancic went
there. Now who's going to else come on through? Because don't forget Stephen Banks is on first rubber. Here comes Kirby around the outside of the last corner. Third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. They are tight as you like. And Kirby, shoes run. Are you kidding me? Taliancic is out of fuel. Out of fuel. Does he get to the line?
He will make it
does.
7th.
Oh! Somebody find me an oxygen machine. I'm out of breath. What an absurd race. What an absolutely monumental... No, I've got words. There's nothing to describe that.
31, possibly 32 laps had to be run by everyone who came in under the safety car.
Campbell didn't make the couple corners. He coughed on it and died down the hill, by the way. That's how much fuel he had left.
There you go.
My word. And the thing about Tally was that if you're going to hold up Christian Smart, he should have let him go. He would have made it home if he'd let him go. So a fight for third has cost him 4 spots in the end.
Let us rewatch, I think, that final lap before we cut to the final race results. It's safe to say he worked out time.
I'm done.
Oh no, I've switched cameras. Oop, and bonk. There, that's what that should be. All right.
So this is coming to the white flag, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be the entire last circuit. Barney's got the white in hand. There's one more left to go, and he pitches him tight at turn 1, but he leaves it there, Tally.
Isn't it?
Oh, what a drive!
Almost there at turn 3, he almost had the job done. He was able to force Smart and pinch him just that way that it compromised him. But then, worried about the attack into turn 6, Tally opts to give it up there in terms of getting the grip. But then, here on the exit of 6, does have a little bit of margin, and then Smart, unable to commit to around the outside of 7, opts to try and fall back in line, which gave Tally the moment. And then, up to 8, middle of the road defense. Smart wanted to, because now here's the moment unfortunately we missed, so let's stick with this here. We'll watch it here through turns 9 into 10, and look at the grip that Smart's got, leaning on the left side, brother. And he will, and just Tally's defensive, and there's the lock. Locking it up, trying to cover the spot. And then as you said,
he's just out of fuel. He's out of fuel. He's not going to drive.
He's still got some left here on the run of turn 11. It's out of 11 here where it finally gives up the ghost.
And Greg Sharp's there and looking to follow him, and he's done the right thing. He's done the absolute... He could have stayed there. But there's no guarantee he'll make the line if he does, because you just get turned from that position. And Skulls misses out. The margin from 7th to 8th was 0.04 of a second.
I'll bring up this angle here. Oh, that's not the right angle. I wanted to get that one.
But you can see the car rocking, which is where it's shutting down. Watch the car sputter. You can actually see every time the suspension leans back is when he's got a spurt of fuel in the tank, and every time it rocks forward there's just no drive. There's nothing in that. The flag stand, if the flag stand was where that 17 port was, he would have got him. But because it's back where the flagman is, that's the difference between 7th and 8th. My word! I thought we had a cracking race last time out. There was so much that went on at Long Beach. But it turns out if you want a blockbuster, just send the guys to Japan. Oh, Scott Campbell in the end will extend the series lead, no doubt. We have no idea where Jason Spriggs finished in that one as of yet. John Latham finally gets one on the podium this season, into second after pedal failures last week was the reason he couldn't gain any spots late on in the piece. Christian Smart comes home a distant 3rd place. Everyone from here on back had to pit. Nobody made it. So there's only 2 that actually made it out of all of that. Dave Kirby, Greg Sharp, Stephen Banks gets back through for P6. So that's a phenomenal strategy call from Stephen Banks. Taliancic skulls, another phenomenal call. McCune, after all of that, gets 9th, so gets away with his first top 10 of the season. And Dan Hall, we said at one stage, Dan Hall's in to pick up a race win. This round ends up 10th.
Trying to keep track of who ended up where. in all of this has been absolute madness. And indeed, yeah, a couple of drivers who could have made it. Strategy did not go their way. The fuel saving today was insane. And outside the top 10, unfortunately, Stuart Hall drops back into 11th place there towards the end. Chad Lewis up to 12th from where he started time, which was 19 days. Your biggest two movers, or almost biggest two, Max Scholes actually is second best. But top three for biggest movers, Robert Christo could have been more, but he'll still gain 23 places to finish in 13th, with Stephen Kennedy up 27 spots to finish 14th here tonight. You can see the gaps here are no small feat either. It was pretty tight amongst these guys in the middle of the field, where we didn't get a chance to even look at them either. Behind him, Chris Miller in 15th, Dean Favell for 16th. Halal says 21 spots for him, up to 17th. Rick Vigor in the wars, open up 19 spots still to 18th. 11 spots for Aaron Crosby, and 15 for Scotty Van Loo to round out the top half of the field here tonight. And well, that's the good stories. Unfortunately from here, Scott, we then sort of get into the drivers with the rougher tales of the evening.
Yeah, started on the front row, backwards at turn 1, dead last of the first lap. Matt Vanderkraan in 21st. Spriggs was looking for a reasonable points like that won't help, but at least the start of the season's been quite good to him in terms of points. Travis Hunt with new hardware on his head didn't do so well. Michael Stewart, Damien Cairns, we saw Stewart in multiple incidents throughout the night. Jamie Knight, we saw him peel off late on in the piece. Rod Hollis, Peter Vanderkraan. Brenton O'Brien had issues late on. Paul Burns obviously had to come back to pit road and was the cork in the bottle right the way through the pack after that last safety car. And we'll throw it back over from 30th. I've got nothing left, Dan. I'm done. The voice is done. It's cracked it. It's gone.
Well, we'll try and keep our interviews short and sharp then, and not over tax ourselves to wrap things up. Brian Minogue, your final finisher on the lead lap in 31st tonight, with Stephen Gretsch, Jeff Thomas, Chad Vigor, and Matty Parker. Your drivers one lap down at the end of the action here this evening, unfortunately. Tim Nicol finishing 3 laps short of the finish, and then into our retirements of Michael Quain, Ken Lanner, Michael Dumbrell, and Michael Schroeder, along with Troy Sipple and Craig Friend as well. Now, was racing the 696, but unfortunately, I believe picked up an iRacing disqualification.
No, that one was admin issued. That was definitely admin issued.
Admin issue? It was indeed, yeah. My apologies, yes.
I think it was actually been for towing without permission.
That'll do it there. So unfortunately for Craig Friend, that puts him down scored as no laps completed in this race. And let's not like that. We're going to hide that one there, because now I think we can finally turn our attention to a couple of quick interviews here to wrap things up. And I think we should probably start with the top of the tail and quickly get a story from Scott Gamble. There's your race winner here for the Motegi 250 tonight. Scott, welcome back into the comms box, and another win to your name for this season. But that safety car really threw the strategy handbook out the window here tonight. A lot of you guys committing to that long run to save and stretch the tank from the middle of the race to the end.
Yeah, how you going? And thanks. Yeah, we did. It was a tight call. We're probably about 14 litres short, and yeah, we just tried to fuel save and try and push the guys in front of us, because I realised Christian had he must have had a lot shorter pit stop, and I'm like, he's going to struggle, and yeah, to make it. But yeah, it ended up working out, and we finished with enough fuel. So.
Yeah, I was keeping a vague idea of lap times in my head. You obviously had to, as you said, you're balancing that challenge there of saving your fuel, but trying to force the strategy error out of the guys ahead of you there. Obviously, a couple of drivers also not choosing to pit under the safety car. It looks like, unfortunately, it didn't quite work out for them, but nevertheless, we still had two of those drivers, being Stephen, who was obviously leading in that second phase, and also Matt Scholes, who was a little bit further back behind you after the restart. Those two drivers still finished inside the top 10. So I think they'll be pretty happy, all things considered. But yeah, so what's that like for you behind the wheel when you're worried about your fuel numbers, but also trying to force an error out of the other fuel numbers around you there on the track, and you're having to balance the pace and the management?
Yeah, you're thinking about it. You're constantly looking at each lap, because when we're getting down, if you can save 100 or 200 mil in that lap, that's a lot. That's going to let you go flat out on a lap down, down the track. So you're constantly managing it, looking at it, trying to drive to a number. You've got a number in your head. For me, I was like, well, let's try and hit like 2.72 litres per lap. And yeah, so that's what we'll try and aim for. And yeah, so like I said, you're constantly managing it and looking at it and hoping that you get there in the end.
Well, you were the one who made it work the best of the drivers who are up front here tonight. Well, we'll head here from the roads of the circuits of Japan across to the US of A for next week. What do things look like for you in terms of thinking about heading to Indianapolis for round 6 of the V8 Vets in a week's time?
I've got a little bit of redemption to make up with that track. I think last time I was there, we didn't quite achieve where we wanted to, and we got pushed back into the field and didn't have the race we wanted. So it'd be just nice to have a good race there and see where we end up.
Well, good to be able to chat with you once again, Scott. As the race winner of the Motegi 250, the floor is yours to shout out sponsors, partners, friends, whoever helped you get you done in the 543 machine tonight.
Yeah, big shout out to John, who P2, and Christian in P3. They drove really well. To ERT and the drivers there, thank you. They did help out by letting me through, so cheers to that. And to Logitech G, we're using their direct drive wheel. It's fantastic, so it's big shout out to them. And to the sponsors of the league, I'm sure you guys will give a rundown later, but and you guys as well at SimSpeed, thanks for the broadcast. And yeah, to the drivers, awesome fun. We'll see you next round.
Certainly made our life busy, but definitely in a good way. Thanks again, Scott, and good luck for next week. Well, one interview down, 2 more to go. We'll chat to the man who came home P2, and Scott, I'll give back to you to have a chat here to John Latham, able to get himself up on the podium here this evening.
Hey guys, how are you?
Evening, John. A lot different to last time out, and indeed it's been a long time between drinks here on the podium. Obviously, there's been a lot of pace. So first and foremost, let's approach probably maybe the elephant in the room. Pace has been good, execution not so.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. The execution fell off a cliff somewhere. But I mean, the pace has been there. I've had pedal issues which are kind of fixed, but my pedals are like different. So while I was starting to feel good during the week, kind of come race night, I was pretty uncomfortable during that race, to be honest. So I felt I could have had more pace, but Scott just had too much pace. Congrats to him. And I think Christian finished third. He was hassling me for ages. I just got really nervous, and then I let him by as well, sliding around that corner. So unfortunately, I had a bit more luck on my side, I think, tonight. And it's always good following Scotty sometimes, because I just copied him a little bit, and just tried to get it to the end. I was really short on fuel and stuff, but yeah, I'm really happy with tonight for second. That's good.
Mate, it's obviously quite a short lap around here as well. Track position's quite relevant. You made a little bit of a different sidestep in the strategy. You went for that short fill at the early stop, and when everything was sort of settled down at the start of the race, you'd sit there and go, yeah, this might actually be a good strategy. This is going to buy me into things just a little bit. But obviously safety cars, they just eliminate that little bit of a lead. So, not a huge mistake. It's not even really a mistake. It's just a difference in strategy, mate. What prompted the call there?
I was just basically following Scott. I know Scott's pretty good on his pit strategy. So I was just thinking, I've been caught out a few times when everyone's pitted and I haven't. So I just wanted to kind of do the same as everyone else and just try and make it work with what I had, So that was kind of the impulse on that. When that first safety car came out, I was like, oh, that changes things a lot now. And then the second one came out, and I was like, well, I'll see what Scott does, and I'll really have to make a choice of whether I stay out. In the end, I thought, nah, with the way this track is, you can save a bit of fuel going around the track, especially in the draft. So I just kind of maximised that as much as I could, and yeah, happy to come out with second.
Mate, the execution obviously back on top of the world here tonight. Next week we're going to jump over to what is a well-known motorsport venue right around the world, albeit mainly for its oval capabilities. The Indy Road Course, it's a tricky one. It's the newer layout, I believe, too. It's had a few bells and whistles added to it. It's quite a fun circuit to sort of attack. A lot of curb cutting, and it's about positioning. Actually quite similar to tonight's race, so a lot of time put into those pedals and getting set for next week. How's the feeling walking forwards into Indy Road?
Yeah, I've raced Indy Road a few times. I think we raced it maybe a couple of seasons ago or something as well, which was pretty fun. It's quite a technical style track. There's kind of different corners around the track, and especially that little back section. So yeah, it should be interesting. I think with the long main straight coming down that oval should hopefully make for some good passing opportunities. So yeah, definitely we'll see how we go next week. That's just keep ticking along, I think, week by week.
And finally, mate, your opportunity to thank the sponsors that make it possible for you.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Racecraft. The guys down there are always fantastic. And I'd like to thank all the boys at Shadow Racing, and I'd also like to thank the guys at JWM. They've kind of helped me out a little bit with some fuel strategies as well, so that's been really helpful. So I'd like to give a shout out to them as well.
Hey, congratulations on second place. Been a while between drinks. Hopefully we'll chat to you again next week in Indy.
Yeah, no worries. Cheers. Thanks, guys.
Congrats, mate. And finally, we're going to round things out here with the final step of the podium. Driver who certainly had a damn crack at that win and had to really earn third place back. It's going to be the 666 of Christian Smart.
666, 999, one of the two, but
one of the ones.
well, definitely been a long night for us, so I think we'll let that one slide. Grab in Christian and get that chat underway. Well, Christian, unfortunately, I'd say unfortunately, it's not unfortunate. You ended up racing the third place, but I guess, was it maybe a case of what could have been perhaps after what we believe was possibly short filling there at the safety car stop, or just something along those lines? Can you fill us in there about what
You've
happened
taken
there?
the words right out of my mouth there, Dan. So yeah, you're right. You hit the nail on the head. I short filled it, and I put all my faith in JRT as I normally do, and JRT just got it wrong. I was almost going to try and put as much more and override it, but yeah, I didn't get around to that, and yeah, it's just unfortunate, but it's just how it is. I tried to save as much as I could to make it. In the end, I knew that it was more fuel than what the tyres would allow, so I pretty much tried to just save as much as I could to make it sort of an even tyre fuel stop.
Yeah, Scott here was wondering if drivers would take tyres into the race. I was under the presumption that if you are short on fuel, unless you were talking maybe a handful of litres, you'd still bolt on a set of tyres anyway to give yourself the best possible chance of carving your way back through as you did there right at the end. And then sort of, yeah, just that final lap there, you've got Mike fighting every scrap of the way around the circuit, trying to get something back for his race here tonight. And he put you on the outside a couple of times, but good space left between the two of you, and then just one little mistake allowed you to get up the inside there right at the end.
Yeah, he's a very clean racer. I've got a lot of respect for Mike. He's a very good racer. And I know comfortably that we can go, too wide into pretty much any corner around that track. And we know that we've both come out with no incident points on either of us, which is good to know, and got a lot of respect for him. And just unfortunate for him, my tyres were a little bit better than his, but he certainly made it very hard for me. But I don't think if I didn't fight him as hard, he probably would have gained a few more spots. So sometimes it's better to lose one than 4 or 5.
Yeah, that was the question, as it turns out. Mike, unfortunately, running out of fuel after the final corner, saw him drop back into 7th place, but at least still relatively strong after his race. Personally, it was definitely a bit of a tale of up and down, but strong night for you all in all, able to work your way forward from 9th place to 3rd here to bring yourself onto the podium at Motegi. Go to Indianapolis next week, and any thoughts on what that pairing might look like for you? Something else? It's a new configuration of Indianapolis, so any chance you've driven it before in this car, or will it be going in with practice and a fresh set of eyes and experiences for you there?
Yeah, going in pretty green on that one there. I haven't done a lot of practice in the previous seasons and races, but I thought I'd put in the effort this week and had a bit of spare time, so I thought I'd make the effort, and I think I'll be doing the same again this week. I find that putting the practice, as you're aware, the more practice you do, the better and more consistent you get, I suppose.
You certainly do in most cases. Well, Christian, congratulations for us for getting the 3rd place finish here tonight at Motegi. Shout outs for sponsors and thank yous. Floor is yours.
Great. Thanks, Daniel. Firstly, I'd like to thank Jamie for the setup. Appreciate that. He does it. Amazing job. All the V8 veteran drivers, all my teammates, thanks to the boys at SSR. Got also Laurie Saunders at Torrent Safety. Also YouTube followers and the Facebook followers as well. Got Tim Nickel Photography, Kumho Tyres, Condom Tit Solutions, Parramatta Isuzu Ute, Logitech G, PM1 Sitting Gear. I think we've got what else we got? All the stewards and all the guys that help out with the series. And the main ones we got is Wave Runner Performance, Wave Runner Performance Centre, Smith & Sons, DR Epoxy, DGD Custom, Australian Laminating Company, DM Cinematography, Dave Oliver Photo, It's a Dog's Life Quality Dog Kennels, JK Science New Lawn, 88 Media, Aftershock, West End Master, Too Easy Finance. What else you got? You got Quantum Tip, Bay 21, I think we've still got them, SimSpec, Bin the Blade for Balin. So we got SimSpeed TV, West End Motor Group, Kumho Tyres there, Logitech G, Parramatta Isuzu Ute, Player One Sim Gear, and Over Sim Sports.
There we are. Thank you very much. Christian Smart, 3rd place here tonight at the Motegi 250. Will round out the interviews for us here in the commentary box this evening. And now, Scott, we can now turn our attention briefly to what comes next week. From one IndyCar circuit, I guess, to another. Although, as once again, not quite the configuration, I should say, that it's perhaps the most famous for. To the Art of Bricks we shall go at Indianapolis, but across them backwards we shall go as well.
Yeah, that's it. Right-hand turns around the oval is not going to be the same as the left-hand turns the IndyCars are normally set up to take. The Kumho Tyres V8 Veterans Championship will jump a long way, much the same as baseball and IndyCar have done previously as well, ladies and gentlemen. That will all kick off from 8:40 p.m. next week, but I think it's going to be incredibly hard to top. I thought we were going to have a boring race here tonight, Dan Yeaman. I should know better. I absolutely should know better by now. The Kumho Tyres V8 Veterans delivers on a night that was petering out into a snore fest. My word. I'm going to be watching that race back, I think, for the next month. In a month's time, we'll be still talking about this race here tonight from the Motegi Park on the eastern layout. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much to all the sponsors that make it possible. Title sponsor, Kumho Tyres, Logitech G, Parramatta Isuzu Ute, Player One Sim Gear, and Nova Sim Sports. Everyone on that screen got their money's worth tonight. And they will get their money's worth again next week as we head to the Indianapolis Road Course from the SimSpeed crew, from the V8 Veterans crew, from Kumho Tyres, and all the sponsors as well. Bye for now, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you again next week.
iRacing is available now. Download your copy today.